Guys, thank you for taking the time to listen. If you have any ideas you like to hear as a future story, please let me know. And if you could please like and subscribe. The first time I heard my ex-girlfriend was dead, I ordered champagne. The second time I heard it, I inherited her criminal empire. By the third time, she was sitting in my living room wearing a black dress and asking, "Honey, how's my throne?" That's when I realized dying had simply been another one of her lies. Main story. The first time I heard my ex-girlfriend was dead, I ordered champagne. Not because I hated her. Not exactly. I was simply relieved. Because Sofia Romano was the most dangerous woman I had ever known. And she had loved me. That was the problem. 3 years ago, I disappeared without warning. Changed my phone number. Changed my name. Changed 3 countries in 6 months. Most people thought I was escaping a relationship. I knew better. I was escaping a queen. The future queen of the Romano Syndicate. A criminal empire that controlled ports, casinos, shipping companies, and enough politicians to make the news whenever somebody sneezed. And Sofia. She terrified everyone. Everyone except me. That was probably why she loved me. Unfortunately, I was stupid enough to love her back. Until the day she casually said, "If you ever leave me, I'll find you." I laughed. She didn't. 3 days later, she handed me a list containing every address I had ever lived at since childhood, including one I had forgotten myself. That was when I realized she was serious. So I ran. Fast. Very fast. For 3 years I lived quietly on a small island in Greece. I cooked, worked out, drank wine, fished, and enjoyed my peaceful life. Then everything changed. The news appeared on my phone while I was grilling sea bass. Romano Syndicate leader Sofia Romano assassinated. I stared at the headline. Then read it again. And again. A grainy photo showed her armored SUV engulfed in flames. The article claimed no survivors had been found. I put down my phone. The fish burned. I didn't care. After nearly 5 minutes of silence, I opened the oldest bottle of champagne in my cellar. Pop! The cork flew into the ceiling. I raised the glass. Congratulations, Sofia. The sea breeze blew through the open window. For some reason, it felt colder than usual. I drank anyway. Maybe now I was finally free. Maybe the ghost that had haunted my life was finally gone. The next morning, somebody knocked on my door. I frowned. Nobody visited me. Ever. I opened it. A man in a black suit stood outside. Silver hair. Perfect posture. Expression colder than a glacier. I recognized him instantly. Marco. Sofia's personal bodyguard. My smile vanished. No. Marco adjusted his tie. Good morning, Mr. Carter. My name isn't Carter. It is according to your current passport. I immediately tried closing the door. His hand stopped it effortlessly. We need to talk. I don't. It's about Miss Romano. I froze. Miss Romano. Not was. Not the late Miss Romano. Just Miss Romano. A bad feeling crawled up my spine. What do you want? Marco handed me a black envelope. Romano family crest. Black wax seal. My stomach sank. I already knew my peaceful life was over. The envelope contained only one sentence. You are required to attend the reading of Sofia Romano's will. I laughed. then laughed harder, then looked at Marco. Tell me this is a joke. It isn't. I'm her ex-boyfriend. Correct. I haven't seen her for 3 years. Correct. I ran away. Also correct. Then why the hell am I in her will? Marco was silent. That silence frightened me more than any answer. 2 days later, I was sitting inside a private jet heading toward New York. Against my will. Again. I stared out the window. The clouds looked peaceful. Unlike my thoughts. Something didn't add up. Sofia had hundreds of associates. Family. Lawyers. Executives. Bodyguards. Why summon me? Unless no. I immediately rejected the possibility. There was absolutely no way. The jet landed at midnight. A convoy of black SUVs waited beside the runway. Typical Sofia. Even dead, she couldn't resist being dramatic. The vehicles drove directly into Manhattan. 20 minutes later, they stopped outside Romano Tower, the 80-story headquarters of her empire. I had only visited once. That single visit was enough. The building felt less like a corporate office and more like a kingdom. Armed guards stood everywhere. Security cameras covered every corner. The atmosphere screamed money and danger. Inside the conference room sat dozens of people. Executives, capos, lawyers, family members. Most wore black. All looked exhausted. The room fell silent the moment I entered. Every pair of eyes locked onto me. Great. I hated attention. An elderly lawyer stood. As everyone is present, we shall begin. He opened a thick file. Sofia Romano's final testament. My headache worsened. The lawyer cleared his throat. Then began reading. Several properties. Investment accounts. Company shares. Charitable foundations. Nothing unusual. People nodded. Some took notes. Then the lawyer reached the final page. His expression became strange. Very strange. Suddenly, everyone looked nervous. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. The remainder of Sofia Romano's personal assets, controlling interests, operations authority, and leadership rights shall be transferred to. He paused. I had a terrible feeling. Mr. Adrian Carter. The room exploded. People jumped up. Several men started shouting. One woman nearly dropped her chair. Even I stood. What? The lawyer repeated it. Slowly, clearly, painfully. Every piece of Sofia's empire belonged to me. Not a percentage. Not a small share. Everything. Silence followed. The kind of silence that existed before disasters. Then somebody slammed a fist onto the table. A giant man stood. Scar across his face. Gold rings. Murderous eyes. Vincenzo Marino. One of Sofia's most feared captains. This is nonsense. The lawyer remained calm. The will is legal. It must be forged. It is not. Vincenzo stared directly at me. The look in his eyes promised violence. You. I blinked. Me. Why would she leave everything to you? Excellent question. Several people nodded. Even I agreed. Why me? I hadn't spoken to Sofia in years. Before anyone could continue, the conference room doors opened. A young woman hurried inside holding a tablet. Her face was completely pale. Emergency. Nobody moved. The woman swallowed nervously. All 6 harbor facilities are under attack. The room immediately erupted again. What? By who? Impossible. The woman looked ready to faint. Multiple groups. South Jersey. Chicago outfit. Black Harbor Consortium. Everyone moved at once. The atmosphere changed instantly. This wasn't random. It was coordinated. They had waited for Sofia's death. Now they were tearing apart her empire. Like wolves fighting over a carcass. The lawyer slowly closed the file. I noticed something unexpected. Fear. Not in the younger members. Not in the soldiers. In the veterans. The people who had survived decades. They looked frightened. Because nobody knew what came next. The queen was gone. The throne was empty. And enemies were gathering. Suddenly, all eyes turned toward me. The legal owner. The new boss. I nearly laughed. Unfortunately, nobody else found it funny. A phone began ringing. Then another. Then 5 more. Chaos spread through the conference room. Reports arrived every second. Attacks. Theft. Defections. Asset seizures. Stock manipulation. Everything was falling apart. I quietly stood, picked up my coat, and headed for the door. Nope. Absolutely not. I wasn't participating in this madness. 3 years hiding from Sofia had taught me one rule. Run first. Ask questions later. Unfortunately, I only reached the hallway. Marco appeared in front of me. Like a ghost. Leaving. Yes. You cannot. Watch me. Mr. Carter. His expression remained neutral. The moment the will was read, every enemy organization in the country learned your name. My steps slowed. Marco continued. They believe you control Sofia's empire. I don't. They don't know that. I felt my soul leave my body. Marco delivered the final blow. As of 5 minutes ago, there is currently a $25 million bounty on your head. I stared at him. He stared back. How much? 25 million. I looked around. Then toward the elevators. Then toward the windows. Then back at Marco. My peaceful life was officially over. And somehow, even after her death, Sofia Romano had trapped me again. Far away, hidden somewhere inside the city, a woman sat in darkness watching security footage from Romano Tower. The glow from the screen illuminated her face. A face the entire world believed was dead. Sofia Romano smiled softly. Her finger touched the image of a very frustrated man standing in the hallway. I knew you'd come back. $25 million. That number echoed in my head like a funeral bell. Marco stood in front of me with that dead fish expression, as if he had just told me the weather was cloudy. I stared at him. He stared at me. The hallway behind us was filled with rushing footsteps, ringing phones, and panicked voices. Inside the conference room, the Romano Empire was collapsing in real time. Outside the building, half the underworld had probably already started sharpening knives. And me. I was a man who had planned to spend the rest of the week eating grilled fish beside the sea. Now I was worth $25 million dead. Maybe alive too. Who knew? Rich people and criminals both had strange hobbies. I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. Marco. Yes, Mr. Carter. I am going to say this once. Please do. I reject the inheritance. Marco blinked. That was the first time I had seen emotion on his face. Very small emotion. But emotion. You cannot reject it. Why not? Because Miss Romano wrote a clause. My eye twitched. What clause? Marco took out a folded document from his inner pocket and handed it to me. I opened it. There were only 3 lines. If Adrian Carter refuses the inheritance, all Romano assets will be liquidated. All protection around him will be withdrawn. And the truth about him will be released to every enemy I ever had. At the bottom was Sofia's signature. Beautiful. Elegant. Evil. I almost tore the paper apart. This woman. Even dead, she still knew exactly where to stab. What truth? I asked slowly. Marco did not answer immediately. That pause made my heart even colder. Mr. Carter, you were not only Miss Romano's former boyfriend. I know that. You were also the person who saved her life 5 years ago. My fingers tightened. Memories flashed. Rain. Gunshots. A warehouse. Sofia covered in blood. Me dragging her behind a concrete pillar. Then nothing. I frowned. That was supposed to be buried. It was. Then why would it matter now? Marco looked into my eyes. Because the men who tried to kill her that night are the same people attacking us now. The hallway seemed to grow quiet. Very quiet. Even the noise from the conference room felt far away. I looked at him. What did you say? Marco lowered his voice. Miss Romano believed the attempt on her life came from outside, but 2 months ago she discovered something else. What? There was a traitor within the family. My whole body stiffened. A traitor. Inside the Romano Syndicate. That explained everything. The assassination. The fake weakness. The coordinated attacks. The timing. Someone had opened the gates from inside. The wolves did not break into the castle. Someone invited them in. Before I could speak, the elevator at the end of the hall dinged. The doors opened. 3 men stepped out. Black suits. Calm faces. Hands hidden beneath their jackets. Marco moved instantly. He pushed me behind him. Down. I did not ask questions. I dropped. Gunshots cracked through the hallway. Sharp. Deafening. Glass shattered. People screamed from the conference room. I crawled behind a marble pillar, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would jump out and run away by itself. Marco pulled his pistol and fired back. 1 man fell. The second ducked behind the elevator wall. The third rushed forward with terrifying speed. Another shot. Another body hit the floor. Everything happened in less than 10 seconds. Then silence. My ears rang. My palms were sweating. Marco stood there calmly, gun still raised. As if this was normal. As if people trying to kill you in a corporate hallway was just Tuesday. He glanced at me. Are you harmed? I slowly raised my head. Do I look harmed? You look frightened. I am frightened. That is reasonable. I wanted to curse. But before I could, Vincenzo Marino and several armed men rushed out of the conference room. His eyes landed on the bodies. Then on me. Then on Marco. His expression darkened. Who sent them? Marco knelt beside one attacker and searched his collar. He pulled something out. A small silver pin. A black wolf head. Vincenzo's face changed. Black Harbor. The name moved through the hallway like a cold wind. Even the armed men looked uneasy. I knew the name. Everyone knew the name. Black Harbor Consortium. Not a family. Not a gang. A coalition. Smugglers, mercenaries, offshore bankers, killers in suits. If the Romano Syndicate was a kingdom, Black Harbor was a plague. They did not simply take territory. They swallowed it. Vincenzo looked at me again. His gaze was full of anger. This is your fault. I pointed at myself. My fault. The will was read, and immediately they attacked. Sofia put you on the throne, and now blood is spilling. I laughed once. Dry. Cold. Then maybe ask the dead woman why she did it. Vincenzo took one step closer. Marco raised his gun. So did Vincenzo's men. Suddenly the hallway became very tense. Great. Perfect. Enemies outside. Enemies inside. And I was standing in the middle like a free buffet. The elderly lawyer hurried out, pale as paper. Gentlemen, please. Nobody listened. Vincenzo stared at Marco. Lower your weapon. Marco's voice was flat. Take one more step toward Mr. Carter, and I will bury you beside those men. Vincenzo smiled. A very ugly smile. You think this coward can lead us? Coward. That word made my eyelid twitch. I wanted to say yes. Yes, I was a coward. A professional coward. An international-level coward. I had crossed oceans to avoid emotional responsibility. But for some reason, when Vincenzo said it, it sounded terrible. Maybe because everyone in the hallway was looking at me. Maybe because Sofia had still somehow thrown me into this mess. Maybe because $25 million was now attached to my head. Or maybe because I suddenly remembered Sofia from 5 years ago. Not the cold Mafia princess. Not the woman who made men kneel with one glance. But a girl in the rain, gripping my sleeve, whispering, "Don't leave me." My chest felt tight. I slowly stood up. Marco glanced at me. Mr. Carter. I ignored him. I walked toward Vincenzo. The big man looked down at me. He was taller, stronger, definitely better at killing people. But I had one advantage. I was very annoyed. And an annoyed, lazy man was more dangerous than an ambitious one. Because an ambitious man wanted to win. A lazy man just wanted the problem to disappear. I stopped in front of Vincenzo. You're right. The hallway went quiet. I am not Sofia. Vincenzo sneered. At least you know. I don't know your roots. I don't know your captains. I don't know your dirty accounts, your hidden warehouses, or which judge you bought last spring. Several people froze. Vincenzo's smile faded. I continued. But I know one thing. I pointed at the dead attackers. Those men didn't come here to kill me. Marco's eyes shifted slightly. Vincenzo narrowed his eyes. I said slowly, they came here to see who would protect me. Silence. The air changed. People started thinking. Finally, if I died in the hallway, Black Harbor would know the Romano family has no unity. If I survived because only Marco protected me, they would know everyone else is waiting to betray me. I looked around. At this exact moment, they are watching for cracks. No one spoke. I turned back to Vincenzo. And you almost gave them exactly what they wanted. His jaw tightened. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he laughed. Low. Dangerous. Maybe you are not completely useless. Thank you, I will frame your approval. He stared at me. I stared back. Finally, he lowered his hand. His men lowered their guns. Marco lowered his last. The lawyer nearly collapsed from relief. I turned to Marco. Seal the building. Already done. Check every staff member who entered after midnight. Understood. Find out how those men got past security. Marco nodded. Then I looked at the lawyer. You. The old man jumped. Yes, Mr. Carter. Call whoever handles public relations. For what? I smiled without warmth. Tell the world I accept the inheritance. The hallway exploded again. What? Are you insane? Boss. I raised my hand. Everyone quieted. Strange. Very strange. Maybe it was Sofia's will. Maybe it was the bounty. Maybe it was the dead bodies on the floor. But they listened. I said, if I run, they hunt me. If I hide, they still hunt me. If I reject this mess, Sofia's claws exposes me anyway. I looked out the shattered window. The city lights glowed beneath us. Beautiful. Cruel. Hungry. So fine. My voice turned cold. If everyone wants me to sit on the throne, I'll sit. Vincenzo's eyes sharpened. But understand this. I turned back to the room. I am not Sofia Romano. Nobody breathed. I am worse. Not because I was stronger. Not because I was braver. But because Sofia had spent her life building this empire with blood and fire. I had spent mine avoiding trouble, which meant I knew exactly how much effort trouble required. And I was very, very angry that everyone was making me work. By sunrise, my face was everywhere. Unknown heir takes control of Romano Empire. Sofia Romano's secret lover inherits crime dynasty. Adrian Carter, the man behind the queen. I sat in Sofia's office, watching the headlines scroll across the monitor. Her office had not changed. Black marble desk. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A wall of old family portraits. A small silver lighter on the desk. A half-empty glass of whiskey. It looked like she had simply stepped out for a moment. That made me uncomfortable. I sank into her chair. Too large. Too cold. Too much power. I hated it. Marco stood beside the door. Vincenzo stood near the window. 3 other captains sat facing me. Elena Rossi, who controlled the casinos. Dante Bellini, who handled ports. Mikhail Orlov, who managed overseas accounts. All of them were dangerous. All of them were watching me like hungry dogs, deciding whether I was meat. I rubbed my temples. Report. Elena spoke first. 2 casinos were raided last night. Not police, masked men. They took cash reserves and client records. Dante followed. Pier 6 is burning. Pier 9 has gone silent. We lost contact with our warehouse teams. Mikhail adjusted his glasses. 3 offshore accounts were frozen. Someone had access to internal authorization codes. I leaned back. So the traitor has high clearance. Nobody answered. Which meant yes. I looked at Marco. How many people had access to Sofia's inner codes? 7 names. Marco placed a file on the desk. I opened it. 7 names. Marco. Vincenzo. Elena. Dante. Mikhail. The lawyer Salvatore Greco. And Sofia's younger brother. Luca Romano. My finger paused on the last name. Where is Luca? The room went silent. Too silent. I looked up. What? Elena crossed her arms. Missing. Since when? Since the explosion. I laughed softly. Convenient. Vincenzo slammed his palm on the desk. Careful. I looked at him. He is Sofia's brother. He is family. I nodded. And betrayal tastes better when served by family. Vincenzo's face darkened. For a second, I thought he might jump across the desk. Then Marco spoke. Mr. Carter is correct. Luca must be found. Vincenzo looked furious, but said nothing. I flipped through the file. Luca Romano. 26. Charming. Reckless. Gambling debts. Rumored resentment towards Sofia. Last seen leaving Tower Garage, 30 minutes before the explosion that supposedly killed her. Beautiful. Very beautiful. If betrayal had a smell, this file was spraying perfume. I closed it. Find Luca? Dante asked, and the attacks. I leaned forward. Let them continue. Everyone stared at me. Elena frowned. Excuse me. Let them continue. Dante looked at Marco, as if asking whether I had brain damage. I continued, Black Harbor thinks we're panicking, so we panic properly. Mikkel's eyes narrowed. You want to bait them. Finally, someone with glasses is using them. Mikkel smiled faintly. I pointed at the city map on the wall. They're hitting assets Sofia would protect. Casinos. Ports. Cash routes. Accounts. But Sofia is dead. I am not Sofia. I don't care about symbols. I care about people and information. Vincenzo's eyes changed. You want to sacrifice property. I want to see who moves when they think we are weak. I tapped the file. Freeze all non-essential transfers. Pull loyal crews back from exposed warehouses. Leave the shells. Dante understood first. You want them to attack empty rooms. Yes. Elena slowly smiled. And when they do, we track where the stolen goods are sent. Exactly. Mikkel nodded. I can mark the cash bundles and account files with tracing protocols. Do it. Vincenzo stared at me for a long time. Then he gave a rough laugh. Lazy strategy. Efficient strategy. You are letting the enemy do the walking. I hate walking. For the first time since I entered Sofia's world again, the room felt slightly less hostile. Only slightly. Like a room full of knives, had agreed to point downward for 5 minutes. Then my phone rang. Not the new secure phone Marco gave me. My old phone. The one from Greece. The one nobody should have. I slowly pulled it from my pocket. Unknown number. The room went silent. Marco stepped forward. Do not answer. I answered. Because apparently I too had gone insane. Hello. Static. Then breathing. Soft. Familiar. My blood froze. A woman's voice came through. Low. Amused. Cruel and sweet at the same time. Adrian. My hand tightened around the phone. No. Impossible. The room faded. The city. The office. The captains. Everything disappeared. Only that voice remained. Sofia. My mouth went dry. I forced myself to speak. You're dead. A soft laugh. I missed your optimism. My heart slammed against my ribs. Marco's face changed. He knew. Vincenzo stepped forward. What is it? I raised a hand, silencing him. My voice dropped. Sofia. Everyone froze. The name hit the office like thunder. On the phone, Sofia sighed gently. You accepted the throne faster than I expected. I closed my eyes. This woman, this absolutely insane woman. You faked your death. Technically, others faked it for me. I simply did not correct them. You left me your empire. Yes. You put a bounty on my head. No, that part was Black Harbor. That does not make me feel better. It was not meant to. I almost crushed the phone. Where are you? Safe. Define safe. Somewhere you cannot run to. I laughed coldly. You mean somewhere I cannot run from? There was a pause. Then her voice softened. Still so smart. The way she said it made something twist inside my chest. Anger, relief, pain, all mixed together. For 3 years, I had imagined meeting her again. Sometimes I cursed her. Sometimes I missed her. Sometimes I wished she would forget me. Now she was alive, and I did not know whether I wanted to hug her or strangle her. Probably both. Sofia, I said slowly, why? Her answer came quietly. Because someone inside my family wants me dead. I figured that much. If I stayed visible, they would keep hiding. If I died, they would come out. So you used me as bait. Yes. Honest. Too honest. My anger flared. Wonderful, very romantic. Nothing says love like turning your ex into a public target. Her breathing changed. For a second, she said nothing. Then she whispered, you were always safest when everyone underestimated you. I froze. That sentence. Years ago, she had said something similar. Back when we were younger. Back when her world had not swallowed us yet. Before blood. Before betrayal. Before I ran. I opened my eyes. Where are you? I already told you. Sofia. No. You owe me an explanation. I owe you many things. Her voice became colder. But if you come looking for me now, you die. The office doors suddenly burst open. A guard rushed in. Boss. I hated that word already. What? We found Luca Romano. Everyone turned. The guard swallowed. He is at St. Gabriel Cathedral. Vincenzo frowned. The cathedral. The guard nodded. And he is not alone. I stood slowly. Who is with him? The guard's face went pale. Black Harbor. The phone was still against my ear. Sofia heard everything. Her voice sharpened. Adrian, listen to me. Do not go there. I smiled. Cold. Tired. Very tired. Sofia. Yes. I spent 3 years running from you. Silence. I am done running. Then I hung up. For the first time since her death that was not death, Sofia Romano was the one left speechless. I looked at Marco. Prepare the cars. Vincenzo grinned. Finally, he looked satisfied. Now you sound like a boss. I walked toward the door. No. I picked up Sofia's silver lighter from the desk and slipped it into my pocket. I sound like a man whose vacation was ruined. And honestly, that was much worse. St. Gabriel Cathedral stood at the edge of the old district. Massive. Gray. Ancient. Rain poured from the sky by the time our convoy arrived. Because of course it rained. Stories like this always needed rain. I stepped out of the SUV, wearing one of Sofia's black coats Marco had forced on me. It smelled faintly like her perfume. Cold jasmine. Smoke. Danger. I hated how familiar it felt. Marco stood to my right. Vincenzo to my left. Behind us, 12 armed men moved silently. The cathedral doors were open. Inside, candles burned. The air smelled of wax, dust, and old prayers. At the altar stood Luca Romano. Young, handsome, terrified. A bruise darkened his cheek. Beside him stood a tall man in a gray suit. Thin smile, silver hair, hands folded over a cane. I did not know him, but I knew his type. Men like him never raised their voices. They paid others to scream. The gray-suited man smiled when he saw me. "Mr. Carter." His voice echoed beneath the vaulted ceiling. "Welcome." I glanced at Luca. "You look terrible." Luca gave a bitter laugh. "You must be Adrian." "Unfortunately." The gray-suited man tapped his cane once. "My name is Cassian Vale. Black Harbor's ghost banker." I had heard of him. Everyone had. A man who destroyed families with contracts before bullets were ever fired. I looked at him. "You attacked my building." Cassian smiled. "Your building, already speaking like an owner." I adapt under stress. "Charming." I pointed at Luca. "Is he the traitor?" Luca's face twisted. "No." Vincenzo roared, "Liar." Luca flinched. Cassian seemed amused. Family distrust, always useful. I studied Luca carefully. Fear, shame, anger, but not the right kind. He looked guilty, but not victorious. Interesting. I walked forward slowly. Marco whispered, "Careful." I ignored him, because I had already noticed something. Luca's hands were trembling. Not from fear of us. From withdrawal. Gambling. Debt. Pressure. A weak man. But maybe not a mastermind. I stopped 10 steps away. "Luca." He looked at me. "Did you betray Sofia?" His eyes reddened. "No." "Did you leak the codes?" He looked away. There it was. "Answer." His voice cracked. "I didn't know what they were for." Vincenzo cursed. Dante, who had followed behind us, nearly drew his gun. I raised a hand. "Explain." Luca swallowed. "I owed money, a lot. They said they only needed old authentication keys, nothing active. They said it was for insurance fraud. I didn't know they would attack her." His voice broke. "I didn't know they would kill my sister." Cassian chuckled. "How touching." I looked at Cassian. "So you used him." "I use many things. And now I offer you a deal." I laughed. Everyone seemed to enjoy offering me things I did not want. "What deal?" Cassian stepped forward. "Give Black Harbor the ports, half the casinos, overseas channels. In exchange, we recognize you as Romano head and withdraw the bounty." Vincenzo spat on the floor. Marco's face remained cold. I smiled. "That sounds generous." "It is realistic." "No." Cassian tilted his head. "No. No." His smile faded slightly. "Mr. Carter, you may have inherited Sofia's chair, but you do not have her claws." "True." I pulled the silver lighter from my pocket. Flick. A small flame appeared. "But I have something worse." Cassian's eyes lowered to the lighter. For the first time, his expression changed. Recognition. So this lighter mattered. I smiled. You know what this is. He said nothing. I turned the lighter in my fingers. There is a chip inside, isn't there? Marco's eyes sharpened. Vincenzo looked confused. Cashin's jaw tightened. Good. I was guessing. But his face told me I guessed correctly. Sofia, you terrifying woman. Even your accessories were weapons. I continued, calm as if I had known all along. Sofia wouldn't leave her office untouched unless she wanted me to find something, and she wouldn't leave me a pretty lighter unless it could burn more than cigarettes. Cashin raised his cane slightly. Bad sign. I snapped the lighter shut. Move and I break it. He stopped. The cathedral was silent, except for rain hammering the stained glass. I looked at Marco. Take Luca. Marco moved. Cashin's men raised weapons. Then dozens of red laser dots appeared across their bodies. From the upper balconies, Elena's people, Dante's port shooters, Vincenzo's soldiers, all hidden, all waiting. Cashin slowly looked around. His expression darkened. You planned this? No. I smiled. I improvised. Which was technically true. The best plans were just panic wearing a suit. Marco grabbed Luca and pulled him back. Luca was shaking. Cashin stared at me. This is not over. I sighed. People keep telling me that. His eyes were cold. You have no idea what Sofia started. My smile faded. Maybe. I stepped closer. But I know what I'm starting. Cashin watched me. I said softly, tell Black Harbor something for me. And what is that? I leaned in. The flame from the candles flickered between us. The Romano throne is occupied. Cashin's face hardened. I continued. And if they want it, they can come personally. For a long second, nobody moved. Then Cashin smiled again. But this time the smile was thinner. Sharper. Less confident. Very well, Mr. Carter. He turned and walked toward the side exit. His men followed. No one fired. No one breathed. Only when the cathedral doors closed behind them did the room exhale. Vincenzo looked at me with something almost like respect. Almost. You crazy bastard. I glanced at him. Thank you. That was not praise. I accepted anyway. Marco approached. The lighter. I handed it to him. Check it. He opened the base carefully. Inside was indeed a microchip. Everyone stared. I stared too. Then coughed. As expected. Marco gave me a look. He knew I had been bluffing. Traitor. Suddenly the old phone rang again. I looked at the screen. Unknown number. This woman really had timing like a demon. I answered. Before I could speak, Sofia's voice came through. Soft. Slow. Dangerous. You used my lighter. I found your toy. You threatened Cashin Vale with it. Yes. You were bluffing. My mouth twitched. How do you know? Because the real chip is not in the lighter. I froze. Then slowly looked at Marco. Marco looked at the fake chip. Everyone looked at me. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Sofia laughed softly. I told you not to go. You also faked your death and made me mob king. Temporary mob king. That does not sound better. Her voice softened. You did well. For some reason, those 3 words hit harder than they should have. I looked away from everyone. Rain slid down the cathedral windows like tears. Sofia. Yes. Come back. Silence. Long silence. Then she whispered, I can't. Why? Her breathing trembled. Barely. But I heard it. Because once upon a time, I knew every sound she made. Because the traitor is not Luca. My blood chilled. I looked at Luca, who was being held by Marco's men. Then who? Sofia's voice became almost inaudible. The person who betrayed me, she paused. And in that pause, I already knew the answer would hurt. Is someone standing beside you? The line went dead. I slowly lowered the phone. The cathedral felt colder. Marco. Vincenzo. Elena. Dante. Mikhail. Luca. Every face turned into a mask. Every ally became a suspect. Every breath became dangerous. And somewhere in the shadows, Sofia Romano was alive, watching, hiding, bleeding secrets into my hands 1 drop at a time. I looked at the people around me, then smiled. Not because I was happy, but because if I did not smile, I might start screaming. Everyone back to the convoy. Marco frowned. Mr. Carter. I slipped Sofia's lighter into my pocket. From now on, nobody moves alone. Vincenzo's voice was low. You think one of us is the traitor. I looked at him. Then at all of them. No. I walked down the cathedral aisle toward the rain. I know one of you is. Behind me, the candles flickered. Like they were afraid too. The ride back from St. Gabriel Cathedral was silent. Very silent. The kind of silence where every breath sounded suspicious. Rain hit the windows of the SUV like countless little bullets. I sat in the backseat. Marco drove. Vincenzo sat in the passenger seat. Luca was in the vehicle behind us, guarded by 4 men who probably wanted to throw him into the river. My hand remained inside my coat pocket, fingers wrapped around Sofia's silver lighter. Fake chip. Fake death. Fake will. At this point, I would not be surprised if Sofia had faked the moon. That woman did not make plans. She built mazes. And now I was standing in the center of one. The person who betrayed me is someone standing beside you. Her words kept echoing in my mind. Someone standing beside me. Marco. Vincenzo. Elena. Dante. Mikhail. Luca. Every name felt possible. Every face had secrets. This was the problem with Mafia people. Nobody looked innocent. Not even the innocent ones. I looked at Marco through the rearview mirror. His expression was calm. Too calm. Marco. Yes, Mr. Carter. How long have you served Sofia? 14 years. Long time. Yes. Long enough to betray her. The SUV went even quieter. Vincenzo turned his head slightly. Marco's eyes did not move from the road. If I betrayed Miss Romano, you would already be dead. Reasonable. Very reasonable. Annoyingly reasonable. I turned to Vincenzo. And you? He laughed coldly. You think I would betray Sofia? I think everyone breathes, lies, and eventually dies. His smile vanished. I bled for that girl. People have betrayed for less. Vincenzo's jaw clenched. For 1 second, I thought he might actually punch me. Honestly fair. Then he looked back out the window. If I wanted the throne, I would have taken it when her father died. That was also reasonable. To many reasonable people. Very inconvenient. The convoy entered Romano Tower's underground garage. Before the SUV stopped, Marco spoke. "Mr. Carter." "What?" "Until we identify the traitor, trust nobody." I glanced at him. "Including you." His answer came instantly. "Especially me." Good. At least he was self-aware. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like going up to an execution. When the doors opened, Sofia's office was full of people. Elena Rossi stood by the bar, elegant and cold in a black dress. Dante Bellini leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking like a dockworker who accidentally became royalty. Mikhail Orlov sat on the sofa, glasses in hand, expression unreadable. Salvatore Greco, the old lawyer, stood near the desk clutching documents. Luca was pushed inside last. He looked terrible. Wet hair, bruised face, eyes full of shame. Everyone stared at him. Vincenzo moved first. He grabbed Luca by the collar and slammed him against the wall. "You little rat." Luca gasped. "I didn't know." Vincenzo punched the wall beside his head. The sound cracked through the office. "Don't say that again." "Enough," I said. Nobody moved. I said it again, colder. "Enough." Vincenzo turned toward me slowly. His eyes were red. "Sofia is dead because of him." "No." Everyone froze. I walked to the desk and sat down in Sofia's chair. It still felt wrong, but less wrong than before. Sofia is alive. The room exploded. Elena's glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Dante stood straight. Mikhail's eyes narrowed. Salvatore Greco crossed himself. Luca stared at me as if I had dragged the sun into the room. Vincenzo went pale. Actually pale. For a man built like a wall, that was impressive. "What did you say?" he asked. "Sofia is alive." Marco stood by the door, silent. Elena took one step forward. "You spoke to her?" "Yes." "When?" "Twice." Dante frowned. "And you are only telling us now." "I was busy not dying." Fair excuse. No one could argue. Mikhail slowly put his glasses back on. "If Miss Romano is alive, then the will was not a succession." "No." I tapped the desk. "It was bait." Vincenzo closed his eyes, breathing heavily. "That insane girl." "Honestly, same." Luca suddenly laughed. "Not happy." "Broken." "She's alive." No one answered. He slid down the wall, covering his face with his hands. "She's alive." His shoulders trembled. I could not tell if he was laughing or crying. Maybe both. Elena's expression became sharp. "Then why has she not returned?" I looked around the room. "Because one of us betrayed her." Silence. There it was. The knife placed in the middle of the table. Nobody touched it. But everyone saw it. Dante's voice dropped. "She told you that?" "Yes." Mikhail looked at Marco. "Did she give a name?" "No." Elena smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "How convenient." I leaned back. "Very." Everyone began staring at everyone else. Trust broke quickly. Faster than glass. A minute ago, they were leaders of the same empire. Now they were strangers trapped in a room. Perfect. Painful. Necessary. I picked up the lighter and placed it on the desk. This was planted in Sofia's office, fake chip inside. Mikkel took it carefully and examined it. A decoy. Yes. Then she wanted you to use it. Probably. Or the traitor wanted you to think that. I stared at him. He stared back. I hated smart people. They made paranoia expensive. The old lawyer Salvatore cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, perhaps we should wait for Miss Romano to contact. No. My voice cut through the room. We stopped waiting. I stood. For 3 years I lived on an island because I wanted peace. I was very good at it. Excellent even. But in one day I inherited a criminal empire, received a bounty, got shot at, threatened Black Harbor in a church, discovered my ex is alive, and learned someone in this room may be a traitor. I paused. Everyone listened. So now I am tired. Vincenzo frowned. Tired? Yes. I smiled. And when I am tired, I simplify things. I looked at Marco. Lock down the tower. Done. Elena. She raised an eyebrow. Yes, boss. The way she said boss was mocking. I ignored it. Close every casino for 24 hours. Her face changed. That will cost millions. Good. Good. If the traitor is using casino channels to move money, closing them forces panic. Elena studied me. Then slowly nodded. Fine. Dante. He straightened. Abandon Pier 6 completely, pull our people out, leave storage containers marked active. His eyes lit slightly. A trap. A loud one. Mikhail. Yes. Freeze all accounts except 3. Which 3? The ones you think are safest. His eyes sharpened. You want to see who touches them? Yes. Finally, I looked at Vincenzo. You. He crossed his arms. What? Spread a rumor. What rumor? I smiled. That Sofia's real killer is Luca. Luca's head snapped up. What? Vincenzo also stared. Are you insane? Possibly. Luca struggled to stand. You said you believed me. I believe you are guilty of being stupid. That is different from being the mastermind. Then why? Because if the traitor thinks we are blaming Luca, they will relax. Mikhail nodded slowly. And if Black Harbor thinks Luca took the fall, they may contact their real source. Elena smiled. Cruel. Elegant. Not bad. Dante gave a low whistle. The lazy king bites. I pointed at him. I prefer efficient. Marco's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression changed. Problem. I sighed. Already. He looked up. Black Harbor has released a video. The screen on Sofia's wall turned on. A grainy recording appeared. A warehouse. A chair. A bound man. My stomach sank. It was one of Romano's port managers. His face was bruised. Behind him stood Cashin Vale. Gray suit. Silver cane. Snake smile. Mr. Carter, Cashin said on the video, since you refused our generous offer, we will begin educating you. The camera shifted. Behind him were rows of containers. Dante cursed. Pier 9. Cashin continued. Every hour you refuse to negotiate, another Romano asset burns. He leaned closer to the camera. And eventually, another Romano body falls. The video ended. The room was silent. Dante's fists clenched. That pier has 30 men. I looked at Marco. Can we reach it? Not before Black Harbor moves again. Dante stepped forward. I'm going. No. His eyes flashed. Those are my people. And Black Harbor knows that. I'm not leaving them. I stood slowly. No one is leaving alone. He laughed harshly. You going to stop me? Vincenzo moved slightly. Marco's hand lowered toward his gun. The air grew dangerous again. I was really getting sick of people making everything dramatic. I looked at Dante. You go storming in, you die. Your men die. Black Harbor gets exactly what it wants. And your plan? I walked to the city map. Pier 9 is surrounded by water on 3 sides. Main road here, service tunnel here, old rail access here. Dante blinked. How do you know that? Sofia showed me years ago. Actually, she had taken me there on a date. Normal couples went to restaurants. Sofia Romano showed me smuggling routes. Romance. Black Harbor expects soldiers, I said, so we send none. Dante frowned. What does that mean? I looked at Alina. You still have those private event vans for casino performers. She blinked. Yes. Good. Fill them with medical staff, firefighters, and unarmed workers. Make it look like evacuation support. Vincenzo growled. That is not an attack. No, it is an exit. Marco understood first. You want to extract the hostages through the service tunnel, while Black Harbor watches the main road. Yes. Dante's eyes narrowed. And Cassian. I smiled. We give him what he wants. What? A negotiation. 1 hour later, I stood on the roof of Romano Tower. Wind whipped at my coat. Rain still fell. Below me, the city glowed like a battlefield pretending to be civilization. Marco stood beside me holding a secure phone. Vincenzo waited near the stairwell. Alina, Dante, and Mikko coordinated teams from Sofia's office. Everyone was busy. Everyone had a role. And one of them might still be the traitor. Wonderful. Marco handed me the phone. Cassian Vale is on the line. I took it. Cassian. His smooth voice answered. Mr. Carter, I was beginning to think you lacked manners. I was cooking up a surrender. A pause. Then he chuckled. Interesting. You wanted negotiation. I did. You can have the casinos. Marco's eyes moved to me. I ignored him. Cassian spoke slowly. All of them. Half. As I originally requested. Yes. And the ports. We discuss after you release the Pier 9 workers. He was silent. I could almost hear him thinking. Miss Romano would never make this deal. I am not Sofia. No, he said softly, you are not. I watched rain slide off the roof edge. You have 15 minutes to send proof they are alive. And if I refuse, then I burn the casinos myself before you touch them. Another pause. This one colder. You would destroy your own assets. Yes. Why? Because I am petty. Marco looked away. Maybe to hide a smile. Cassian's voice hardened. You are bluffing. Ask Sofia if I bluff. The moment I said her name, silence fell. Long. Sharp. So he knew. He knew she was alive. Or suspected it. Good. Very good. Cassian finally said, Careful, Mr. Carter. No. My voice became low. You be careful. You tried to kill a woman who plans better dead than most people do alive. I gripped the phone tighter. And now you are dealing with the man she was crazy enough to trust. For once, Cashin did not laugh. 15 minutes, I said. Then hung up. Marco looked at me. You offered him the casinos. No. I heard you. I offered him Elena's casinos. That is different. Elena would rather die than let him take them. Marco's eyes sharpened. So if the traitor leaks that deal, Elena will react, Cashin will react, we watch both. Marco nodded slowly. You are using everyone. I looked at the city. No. My voice was quiet. I am letting everyone reveal themselves. The phone buzzed. A video arrived. The hostages were alive. For now. Dante's extraction teams moved 5 minutes later. The casino vans rolled through back streets. Emergency lights off. Engines quiet. No guns showing. On the monitor, Elena watched from Sofia's office. Her face was calm. Too calm. Mikkel tracked financial transfers. Vincenzo monitored street crews. Luca sat under guard in a side room, head buried in his hands. And me. I stood on the roof, feeling like a man playing chess while blindfolded, drunk, and standing on a trapdoor. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then Marco's earpiece crackled. His face remained still, but his eyes changed. Extraction successful. I released a breath I did not know I was holding. How many? All 30 workers secured, port manager injured but alive. Good. Finally. Something good. Then Marco's expression darkened. What? He listened. Then looked at me. Pier 9 exploded. The roof went silent. A fireball rose in the distance. Orange light bloomed against the rainy sky. Even from miles away, I felt the shock in my bones. Dante's voice came through the comms, broken with rage. They blew it after we pulled out. Cashin had known. Not about the extraction, maybe. But enough. Someone had warned him. The traitor was still moving. I closed my eyes. Then my old phone rang. Unknown number. Sofia. I answered immediately. You saw. Her voice was quiet. Yes. Someone tipped him. Yes. Who? She did not answer. My patience snapped. Sofia, stop playing ghost. People are going to die. They already are. Then help me. Silence. Only static. Wind. Rain. Then she whispered. I am helping you. How? By staying away. My chest tightened. What does that mean? Her voice trembled very slightly. Because if I come back now, the traitor will not just kill me. A pause. They will kill you too. I laughed bitterly. Sofia, I already have half the underworld trying. No. Her voice grew sharp. You don't understand. Black Harbor is not the real enemy. I froze. Marco looked at me. I turned away. What? Cashin is a knife. Held by who? She breathed in. Then said a name. A name that made no sense. A name that should have been impossible. Sofia, I said slowly. But the line crackled. Her voice became faint. Adrian, listen to me. The real enemy is. A loud crash cut through the call. Then gunfire. My blood turned ice cold. Sofia. No answer. More gunfire. A harsh breath. Then her voice came back strained. Don't trust, the line died. I stared at the phone. For 1 second, I could not move. Then something inside me went completely quiet. Not calm. Not peaceful. Quiet. Like all unnecessary emotions had been turned off. Marco stepped forward. "Mr. Carter." I looked at him. "Trace the call. We may not be able to. Do it anyway." My voice sounded strange even to me. Cold. Flat. Vincenzo came running onto the roof. "What happened?" I put the phone away. Sofia was attacked. The big man's face changed. All anger disappeared. Only fear remained. Real fear. Where? I don't know. Marco was already making calls. Rain soaked through my coat. The city burned in the distance. Sofia was alive. Sofia was hunted. And somewhere near me, someone had listened, lied, and smiled. I walked toward the stairwell. Vincenzo followed. "Where are you going?" "To find her." Marco blocked my path. "You cannot run blindly." I looked at him. "I am not running." He held my gaze, then slowly stepped aside. Downstairs, alarms began ringing. Screens flashed. People shouted. The empire moved like a wounded beast waking up. I entered Sofia's office. Everyone turned toward me. Elena, Dante, Mikhail, Salvatore, Luca, all of them. All possible traitors. All possible allies. I walked to the desk and picked up Sofia's old whiskey glass. Half full. Untouched since the day she vanished. I threw it against the wall. Glass shattered. Everyone froze. My voice was soft, but every person heard it. Someone in this tower just helped Black Harbor. No one moved. And someone just helped them find Sofia. Elena's face changed. Dante cursed. Mikhail went still. Luca lifted his head slowly. I smiled. Not happy. Not kind. Not even human, maybe. Congratulations. I looked at each of them. You have finally made me angry. The room was dead silent. I leaned on the desk. Seal every exit, shut down every elevator, cut outside communications. Marco nodded. Done. I continued. Nobody leaves this building until I know who sold her. Vincenzo smiled. A hunter's smile. Dante cracked his knuckles. Elena's eyes glittered. Mikhail's face was unreadable. Luca looked terrified. Good. They should be. Because for 3 years, I had been the man who ran. The man who wanted peace. The man who avoided storms. But Sofia Romano had dragged me back onto a throne made of bullets. And now someone had tried to take her from me again. This time I would not run. This time I would burn the maze down. Nobody left Romano Tower. Not the captains. Not the lawyers. Not the guards. Not even the cleaning staff. Every elevator froze between floors. Every stairwell was sealed by armed men. Every outgoing call was blocked except through Marco's command room. The whole building became a cage. A very expensive cage. Black marble. Bulletproof glass. Hidden cameras. And one traitor breathing somewhere inside. I stood in Sofia's office, looking at the people in front of me. Elena Rossi. Dante Bellini. Mikhail Orlov. Vincenzo Marino. Luca Romano. Salvatore Greco. Marco. Every one of them had served Sofia. Every one of them had access. Every one of them had a reason to lie. Outside the windows, Pier 9 was still burning in the distance. Orange fire reflected against the glass, like the city itself was bleeding. Sofia's phone call kept replaying in my head. Gunfire. Crashing. Her voice cutting out. Don't trust, then silence. I had never liked silence. Silence meant someone was thinking. And in this room, thinking usually meant murder. I turned around slowly. Phones on the desk. No one moved. I smiled. Now. Elena raised one elegant eyebrow. You are asking Mafia captains to surrender their phones. Yes. That is adorable. Elena. She looked at me. If Sofia dies because one of you wanted privacy, I will personally turn every casino you own into parking lots. The room went quiet. Her smile faded. Then she walked forward first and placed her phone on the desk. One by one, the others followed. Dante threw his down. Mikkel placed his carefully. Vincenzo hesitated, then dropped his with a heavy thud. Luca's hands shook as he handed over his. Salvatore nearly dropped his from nerves. Marco placed his last. I looked at him. You too. You said everyone. Good answer. Annoying answer. But good. I nodded toward Mikkel. Can you break into them? He adjusted his glasses. Yes. How long? For ordinary phones, minutes. For hours, longer. Do it. Mikkel collected the phones and moved to the side table. Marco opened a secure laptop for him. Vincenzo crossed his arms. So what now? We sit here like schoolchildren. No. I walked toward Sofia's liquor cabinet. We talk. Dante laughed once. You think the traitor will confess? No. I poured myself a glass of whiskey. Then changed my mind and put it down untouched. My stomach felt like stone. I think liars hate details. I turned back. So we start with details. Elena looked amused again. Interrogation. Conversation. That sounds worse. It is. I pointed at Luca first. You. He flinched. Me. Yes, you leaked authentication keys. Who contacted you? Luca swallowed. I told you, gambling people. Names. I don't know real names. Descriptions. He rubbed his face. One was called Saint, tall, bald, had a tattoo behind his ear. What tattoo? A crown with a nail through it. Marco's expression changed. I noticed. What? Marco spoke quietly. That mark belongs to the crownless saints. Dante cursed. Black Harbor debt collectors. I looked at Luca. How much did you owe? He lowered his head. 8 million. Vincenzo exploded. 8 million. Luca snapped back, I know. No, you do know. You sold your sister for 8 million. I didn't sell her. You gave them the keys. I thought they were dead codes. Vincenzo lunged forward. Marco moved between them instantly. I slammed my hand on the desk. Enough. They stopped. Barely. I looked at Luca. Did Sofia know? His lips trembled. Yes. The room froze. I narrowed my eyes. When? 2 months ago. That matched Marco's timeline. She confronted you. Luca nodded. She slapped me. Deserved. He gave a broken laugh. Yeah. What else? She said she would fix it. She said if I ever lied to her again, she would bury me herself. That sounds like her. His eyes reddened. But she didn't tell anyone, not even Vincenzo. Vincenzo looked struck. Luca whispered she was protecting me. The room softened for half a second. Then I killed that softness. Or she wanted everyone to think she was protecting you. Luca looked up. What? Sofia knew someone inside the family was working with Black Harbor. If your mistake exposed the channel, she may have left you alive as bait. Luca's face went pale. Good. He was finally understanding his sister. Sofia Romano loved deeply. But she planned ruthlessly. Sometimes at the same time. Especially at the same time. I looked at Marco. Where did Sofia go after confronting Luca? Marco frowned. She increased private movements, no records. Of course. Elena crossed her legs. Sofia kept secrets from all of us. I turned to her. Your turn. She smiled. I wondered when you would get to me. Casino channels were used. Allegedly. 2 casinos were hit, client records stolen. If Black Harbor got those records, they could pressure half the city. Elena's expression became cold. My records are protected. Yet they were stolen. Her eyes sharpened. Are you accusing me? Yes. She stood slowly. Dante muttered, here we go. Elena walked toward me. Her heels clicked against the marble. Sharp. Measured. Dangerous. She stopped in front of the desk. I made Sofia millions. I know. I cleaned money no bank would touch. I know. I bribed judges, broke politicians, and buried scandals before breakfast. I know. Then you should also know I would never sell her to Black Harbor. Why? Her smile vanished. For the first time, I saw something real behind her eyes. Pain. Because Sofia saved my sister. The room became silent again. Elena's voice lowered. 6 years ago, my younger sister owed money to men worse than animals. Sofia walked into their club alone and walked out with my sister. After that, I belonged to her. She leaned forward slightly. I would burn every casino myself before I betrayed that woman. I studied her. Her anger was clean. Too clean. Maybe. Or maybe I was starting to see ghosts everywhere. I nodded. Sit. She stared at me another second, then sat. Dante whistled softly. You really enjoy almost dying. No, I just do it often. I turned to Dante. Port. He groaned. My favorite topic. Pier 9 exploded right after the extraction. Yes. Someone knew we pulled the people out. Or they planned to destroy it anyway. Maybe. Dante's jaw tightened. You think I'd blow my own pier? I think you would do anything if the price was right. He laughed. You really are new. Explain. Dante stepped closer. His voice was rough. The pier is not mine, it was Sofia's. Everything was Sofia's. We only held pieces because she allowed it. He pointed toward the burning city. That girl took over from her father when half the old wolves wanted to carve her up. I watched her walk into a warehouse full of men twice her age and make them kneel without raising her voice. His eyes darkened. I hated her sometimes, feared her always, but betray her. He shook his head. No, Sofia was the only reason this empire didn't rot from the inside. Interesting. Very interesting. Everyone loved Sofia. Everyone feared Sofia. Everyone owed Sofia. And still someone betrayed her. Love did not prevent betrayal. Sometimes love caused it. My gaze moved to Mikhail. He had been quiet. Too quiet. Mikhail. He looked up from the phones. Yes. Money. Always money. 3 offshore accounts were frozen before we announced any internal lockdown. Yes. Only someone with high-level codes could do that. Correct. You manage those accounts. Correct. I smiled. At least you are honest. He removed his glasses and cleaned them slowly. I manage money, Mr. Carter. I do not worship it. That is hard to believe from a banker. I am not a banker. No. No, I'm an accountant with enemies. I almost laughed. Mikhail continued. Black Harbor did not freeze the accounts to steal from us. They froze them to observe which emergency accounts we would use next. I paused. What? He turned the laptop toward us. Numbers filled the screen. Rows. Transfers. Routes. Timestamps. I hated spreadsheets. They looked harmless while ruining lives. Mikhail pointed at 3 lines. When you told me to leave 3 accounts active, someone attempted to trace all 3 within 7 minutes. The whole room stiffened. Can you identify who? I asked. Not directly. Indirectly. His eyes gleamed. I planted different false balances in each account. Whoever leaked the information would report one value. Cashin's people just moved against an account based on one of those false balances. Elena leaned forward. Which one? Mikhail's gaze moved slowly. Not to Elena. Not Dante. Not Vincenzo. Not Luca. His eyes landed on Salvatore Greco. The old lawyer. Salvatore's face turned white. Everyone looked at him. The room became deadly. I breathed out slowly. Salvatore. The old man lifted trembling hands. No, no, this is a mistake. Mikhail said softly. The false balance was only visible on the legal estate access terminal. Salvatore shook his head. I did not do this. Vincenzo pulled his gun. Old man. Salvatore staggered backward. I swear on my grandchildren. Dante looked ready to break him in half. Elena's voice turned icy. You were Sofia's lawyer for 20 years. Salvatore was crying now. Real tears. Or very good acting. I served her father. I held Sofia when she was a baby. I would never. A sharp beep came from the laptop. Mikhail frowned. Then his face changed. What now? I asked. He typed quickly. His expression darkened. The trace bounced. To where? Mikhail looked up. The legal terminal was used, yes, but remotely. Salvatore collapsed into a chair with a sob. Vincenzo cursed and lowered the gun slightly. I rubbed my forehead. Meaning? Someone used Salvatore's access to frame him. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The traitor was not clumsy. The traitor was guiding suspicion. First Luca. Then Salvatore. Who next? Probably me. Honestly, I would accuse me too. I looked at the room. Who had physical access to Salvatore's credentials? Salvatore wiped his face. My assistant, security, Sofia. Marco sometimes, anyone with executive archive approval. Marco nodded. True. My headache returned. Then the laptop gave another alert. Mikhail stiffened. What? I asked. He stared at the screen. We have an incoming message. From who? His voice changed. Sofia. The whole room froze. Mikkel turned the laptop. A black window opened. One line appeared. Adrian, if you are reading this, they found my safe house. My blood went cold. Another line appeared. Do not trust the first evidence. Then another. The traitor wants you to kill the wrong person. I leaned closer. Type faster, woman. Please type faster. The cursor blinked. Then more words appeared. Ask Marco about Venice. The room went dead silent. Every head turned toward Marco. My heart sank. Marco did not move. His face remained calm. Too calm. Vincenzo slowly raised his gun again. Marco. Marco's eyes remained on the message. Elena stood. Dante stepped away from him. Luca looked terrified. Even Mikkel stopped typing. I looked at Marco. Venice. For the first time since I had known him, there was a crack in his expression. Small. Painful. Human. He said nothing. Vincenzo's voice became a growl. What happened in Venice? Marco closed his eyes. Then opened them. 4 years ago, Miss Romano sent me to Venice. For what? I asked. To kill you. My body went still. The room vanished around me. Only Marco remained. What? His voice was flat, but his hand trembled once. Only once. After the warehouse attack, Miss Romano became unstable. She believed your presence put you in danger. Your family wanted you separated from her. She agreed. My throat tightened. Marco continued. But then you tried to contact her. I remembered that. Barely. After the attack, after recovery, there were gaps in my memory. Pain. Doctors. Confusion. And a number I kept trying to dial without knowing why. Sofia. Marco said, her father ordered me to make sure you never came back. Vincenzo whispered, no. Marco looked at me. I was sent to kill you in Venice. The room became so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. And I asked. I did not. Obviously. Unless I was having a very strange afterlife. Why? Marco's jaw tightened. Because Miss Romano followed me. My chest clenched. She knew. She suspected. She found us before I could act. His voice lowered. She put a gun to my head and said if I touched you, she would burn the Romano family to ash. No one spoke. I could see it. Sofia younger. Furious. Terrified. Standing between me and death. Again. Always again. Marco looked away. She spared me because I told her the truth. After that, I belonged to her, not her father, her. I slowly sat down. The chair felt suddenly too far from the ground. Why hide this? Because she ordered me to. I laughed once. Empty. Of course she did. Vincenzo still had his gun raised. So you had motive. Marco turned to him. If I wanted him dead, Vincenzo, I had 3 years. Fair. Again, too reasonable. But the message said ask Marco about Venice. Not Marco is the traitor. Sofia was guiding me. Or someone using her channel was guiding me. I looked at Mikkel. Is the message authentic? He typed quickly. Encryption matches Sofia's private key. But he hesitated. But the system only verifies the key, not the sender. So someone could have her key. Yes. I looked at Marco. Who knew about Venice? Marco's answer came slowly. Me, Sofia, her father. Her father is dead. Yes. Anyone else? Marco did not answer immediately. That hesitation told me enough. Marco. His voice was low. Salvatore drafted the original order. All eyes moved back to the old lawyer. Salvatore looked like his soul had left his body. No. Marco continued. And Vincenzo discovered part of it later. Vincenzo's face twisted. I knew her father sent you to watch Adrian. I didn't know the order was death. Dante cursed under his breath. Elena whispered, so 4 people knew. No, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. Sofia's father knew, Marco knew, Salvatore knew, Vincenzo knew, Sofia knew. I stood. But if Sofia's private message mentioned Venice, the sender is either Sofia, I looked around, or one of those 3. Marco, Salvatore, Vincenzo. The room shifted again. The circle tightened. Suddenly Dante and Elena looked relieved. Mika looked thoughtful. Luca looked lost. Vincenzo looked furious. Salvatore looked half dead. Marco looked resigned. I hated this. I hated all of it. Then the building lights flickered. Once, twice. The screens went black. Emergency, red lights flooded Sofia's office. Marco moved instantly. Power breach. Mikkel grabbed the laptop. There inside the system. The office doors locked automatically. Then the intercom crackled. A voice filled the room. Smooth. Amused. Cashin Vale. Mr. Carter, you locked the tower so nicely. My blood chilled. Cashin continued. So I decided to lock it with you. A scream echoed somewhere below. Then gunfire. Dante rushed to the door. It won't open. Marco pulled his weapon. Vincenzo did the same. Elena picked up a knife from the bar. Of course she had a knife. Mikkel kept typing. Luca backed into the wall, shaking. Cashin's voice returned. You searched for a traitor. A soft laugh. How charming. The office screen flickered back on. Cashin appeared. Gray suit. Silver cane. That snake smile. Behind him was a dimly lit room. And in that room my heart stopped. Sofia, bound to a chair. Face pale. Hair loose over one shoulder. Blood at the corner of her mouth. But alive. Very alive. Her eyes lifted toward the camera. And even tied to a chair, even wounded, even surrounded by enemies, she looked angry. Not afraid. Angry. That was my Sofia. My fingers curled into fists. Cashin smiled wider. Now, Mr. Carter, let us play a simpler game. He leaned closer. Choose. The camera moved. 3 names appeared on the screen. Marco. Vincenzo. Salvatore. Cashin's voice was almost gentle. One of them sold her to me. The room went cold. If you kill the correct traitor, I release Sofia. He paused. If you kill the wrong one, she dies. Sofia suddenly struggled against the ropes. Cashin stepped out of frame. A muffled sound. Then she looked at the camera and shouted, Adrian, don't you dare listen to him. Her voice cracked through the speakers. For 1 second she looked at me. Really looked at me. As if she could see through the screen. As if 3 years had not passed. As if she already knew what I would do. Cashin returned smiling. You have 10 minutes. The screen went black. The office fell into silence. Marco lowered his gun slowly. Vincenzo, breath like a bull ready to charge. Salvatore whispered prayers. Everyone looked at me, waiting for judgment, for orders, for madness. I closed my eyes. 10 minutes. 3 suspects. One woman I had run from. One woman I might lose. Again. When I opened my eyes, my voice was calm. Too calm. Marco. Yes. Can you break the office door? Yes. Good. I looked at Mikhail. Can you trace Cashin's signal? Not in 10 minutes. Can you make him think you can? Mikhail paused, then smiled slightly. Yes. I turned to Elena. Can your casino people still access the entertainment vans? Yes. Send them to every Romano safehouse Sofia ever used. She nodded. Dante. Yeah. Get control of the stairwells. On it. Finally, I looked at Vincenzo. He stared back. Boss. That was the first time he said it without mockery. I smiled. Cold. Dangerous. We are not choosing. His eyes lit. No. No. I picked up Sofia's silver lighter. Flicked it open. A small flame danced in the red emergency light. Cashin wants me to kill the wrong person. I snapped the lighter shut. So we make him think I did. Salvatore looked up in horror. What does that mean? I looked at the 3 suspects. Then I smiled. Marco. Vincenzo. Salvatore. It means one of you is about to die. The room went completely still. I added softly. Temporarily. Outside the office, gunfire grew louder. Inside, the tower held its breath. And somewhere on the other side of a screen, Sofia Romano was waiting for me to become the kind of man she always knew I could be. Unfortunately for everyone involved, I was starting to believe her. 10 minutes. Cashin Vale gave me 10 minutes to choose a traitor. One of them had supposedly sold Sofia to Black Harbor. Marco. Vincenzo. Salvatore. One of them had supposedly betrayed the woman every person in this room claimed to love, fear, or owe their life to. And if I chose wrong, Sofia died. Very simple. Very neat. Very stupid. Because Cashin Vale had made one mistake. He assumed I would play his game. I hated games. Mostly because they required effort. And right now, I was running on anger, old feelings, and about 4 hours of sleep. That made me very unreasonable. I stood in Sofia's office under the red emergency lights. Gunfire echoed somewhere below. The tower was under attack. The city outside was burning. And the woman I had spent 3 years trying to forget was tied to a chair on a camera feed, bleeding from the mouth, still arrogant enough to yell at me not to listen. Honestly, that was attractive. Annoying, but attractive. I looked at Marco. Can you fake a gunshot wound? Marco blinked once. Yes. Of course he could. Mafia people had such strange hobbies. I turned to Salvatore. Can you fake death? The old lawyer's face became even whiter. What? Can you fake death? I am 72 years old. So you have experience looking close to it. Elena let out a small laugh. Salvatore looked injured. Emotionally, not physically. Yet, Vincenzo crossed his arms. Why him? Because Cashin expects me to kill one of 3 people. I pointed at Marco. If I shoot Marco, nobody believes it. He is too useful. I pointed at Vincenzo. If I shoot you, half the soldiers downstairs start a civil war. Then I pointed at Salvatore. If I shoot the old lawyer, everyone believes I panicked. Salvatore's mouth opened. No sound came out. I gave him what I hoped was a reassuring smile. It probably looked terrible. Relax, you only need to die for 5 minutes. Only. Marco spoke calmly. There are blood packs in the emergency medical cabinet. I slowly turned toward him. Why? Marco paused. This is Miss Romano's office. That answered nothing. And everything. Mikkel was already typing. I can force Cashin's feedback open for 7 seconds, maybe 8. Enough. For him to see a body, yes. Alina walked to the medical cabinet, hidden behind a painting. Inside were weapons, cash, passports, antidotes, and yes, blood packs. I stared at it. Sofia, what kind of woman keeps fake blood next to painkillers? Actually, never mind. I knew what kind. Mine. Wait. No. Dangerous thought. Very dangerous thought. I shook it away. Dante pressed his ear to the office door. They're 2 floors below. Our people are holding, but not for long. Then we do this fast. Salvatore backed away. No, absolutely not, I refuse. Vincenzo turned to him. Sal. The old man glared. Do not sal me. I wrote wills. I handled contracts. I did not sign up to be shot by an angry vacationer. I sighed. Technically, you wrote the will that made me boss. Salvatore froze. I smiled. So this is your fault. His face twisted. That is not how law works. That is exactly how revenge works. Marco loaded a pistol. Salvatore nearly fainted. I quickly raised a hand. Not real bullets. Marco looked at me. Obviously. Nothing was obvious anymore. Mikkel held up 3 fingers. Signal in 30 seconds. Alina ripped open the blood pack and handed it to Salvatore. Put this inside your shirt. Salvatore looked offended. This suit is Italian. So is Sofia. She is currently kidnapped. Priorities. He muttered something in Italian that sounded very rude. Good. Fear kept people alive. Anger kept them moving. We positioned him near the desk. Marco handed me the gun. It had blanks. Hopefully. I looked at him. These are blanks. Yes. You are sure? Yes. If I accidentally kill him, I will blame you. Understood. Salvatore made a strangled noise. Mikkel began counting. 10 seconds. The room changed. Everyone took positions. Vincenzo stood behind me, gun raised toward Salvatore, playing the furious enforcer. Alina looked cold and satisfied. Dante stayed by the door. Marco stood at my side, expression unreadable. Salvatore clutched his chest like a tragic theater actor. Too much. I pointed at him. Less opera. I am about to die. Temporarily. That does not help. Mikkel said 3, 2, 1. The wall screen flickered. Cashin appeared for a split second, still smiling. I lifted the gun and shouted. You betrayed her. Then I fired. Bang. Salvatore jerked backward. The blood pack burst across his white shirt. He collapsed dramatically against the floor. Too dramatically. Honestly, this man had missed his calling. The screen caught everything. My face. The gun. The blood. The body. Then Mikkel killed the feed. The office went silent. Salvatore opened one eye. Was that convincing? Vincenzo looked down at him. You screamed like my aunt. I did not scream. You squeaked. I was shot. With a blank. My heart does not know that. I gave the gun back to Marco. Now we wait. Elena tilted her head. For Cashin to release Sofia. I laughed. No. Everyone looked at me. Cashin was never going to release her. The room darkened. I continued. He wanted us divided. He wanted one suspect dead. He wanted the real traitor safe. And most importantly, he wanted to know whether I could be forced to kill under pressure. Dante frowned. Then why fake it? Because now he thinks I can. Mikkel's eyes sharpened. And if he thinks you can be manipulated, he will contact the real traitor again. Mikkel smiled slowly. Very good. I looked at Salvatore still lying on the floor. Stay dead. For how long? Until I say otherwise. This is humiliating. You are doing great. He sighed and closed his eyes. The gunfire below grew louder. Then stopped. That was worse. Stopping meant either we had won or everyone was dead. Usually not a good coin toss. Marco's earpiece crackled. He listened. His eyes changed. Black Harbor breached the 47th floor. How many? Unknown. Dante cursed. They're using maintenance shafts. Of course they were. Because walking through the front door was too simple. I turned to Marco. Can we reach the command room? Yes, but we must move now. I glanced at Salvatore. He cannot stay here. Salvatore opened both eyes. I agree with the dead man. Vincenzo grabbed him by the collar and pulled him up. Congratulations, you are resurrected. Salvatore clutched his bloody shirt. I hate all of you. We moved. Marco opened a hidden wall panel behind Sofia's portrait. A narrow passage appeared. I stared at it. Secret tunnels. Marco nodded. Sofia installed them. In an office tower. Yes. I rubbed my forehead. This woman had trust issues. Elena smiled faintly. She was usually right. We entered the passage one by one. The door sealed behind us. The space was narrow, metal, and dark. Emergency lights glowed along the floor. It smelled like dust and expensive paranoia. I walked behind Marco. Vincenzo dragged Salvatore. Elena moved like a shadow. Dante kept checking behind us. Mikkel carried the laptop pressed against his chest, like it was a newborn child. Luca had been brought under guard and looked miserable. I had almost forgotten him. That was usually dangerous. Forgotten people did desperate things. We descended 3 levels through the hidden passage until we reached a small control room. Screens covered one wall. Half were dark. The others showed hallways, stairwells, elevators, offices. Black Harbor men moved through the building in teams of 4. Professional. Clean. Vast. Not street thugs. Mercenaries. Cashin had brought real teeth. Marco leaned over the console. I can restore partial internal surveillance. Do it. Mikkel connected his laptop. Elena watched the screens. Dante pointed. There, that is my floor team. They're still alive. Vincenzo pointed to another feed. My men are pinned near the east stairwell. I looked at the screen. Then another. Then another. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. They're not attacking randomly, I said. Marco nodded. They are moving toward server access. Mikkel's face tightened. If they reach the main server, they can wipe our records. Elena frowned. Or steal them. No, I said. Everyone looked at me. They already stole what they needed. This attack is not about data. I walked closer to the screens. Black Harbor teams were advancing, but not killing everyone. They were pushing people away from specific corridors, creating paths, clearing routes. They are not breaking in. I felt my stomach sink. They are breaking someone out. The room became silent. Then every eye turned to Luca. Luca stepped back. What? No, I didn't. Before he could finish, one of the guards behind him pulled a gun. Everything happened too fast. The guard grabbed Luca by the neck and pressed the weapon to his head. Marco turned. Dante cursed. Vincenzo raised his gun. Elena's knife appeared in her hand. The guard smiled. Not afraid. Not nervous. Prepared. Everyone lower your weapons. Luca whimpered. I stared at the guard. Young. Clean cut. Romano uniform. I had seen him earlier. Where? Airport. Garage. Cathedral. No. Outside Sofia's office. He had been one of the guards who brought Luca in. I laughed softly. There you are. The guard's smile twitched. You knew. No. His expression darkened. I shrugged. But I was hoping someone would make my job easier. Vincenzo growled. Who are you? The guard ignored him. His eyes stayed on me. Open the South Service route. Marco said coldly, impossible. The guard pressed the gun harder into Luca's temple. Open it or little Romano dies. Luca trembled. Please. Vincenzo looked furious, torn between family and rage. Good. That told me one thing. Vincenzo might be many things, but he was not the traitor. At least not this traitor. I looked at the guard. You are Black Harbor. No. That answer surprised me. He smiled. I am Romano. The room went cold. Elena whispered, impossible. The guard's eyes sharpened. Not every Romano worshipped Sofia. There it was. Not money. Not fear. Resentment. Always the cheapest poison. You served her, I asked. I served the family. Same thing. No, that is what she wanted everyone to believe. His voice cracked slightly. Sofia took everything, her father's seat, her brother's inheritance, the captain's loyalty. The family name became hers. Luca stared at him. Who are you? The guard smiled at him. You don't even recognize me. Luca blinked. Then horror spread across his face. Matteo. Vincenzo stiffened. Elena inhaled sharply. Dante whispered, no way. I looked around. Someone explain before I get annoyed. Salvatore, still covered in fake blood, whispered. Matteo Romano, Sofia and Luca's cousin, he disappeared years ago. Matteo smiled. Not disappeared, removed. Luca shook his head. You were sent away because you tried to steal from the family. I tried to take what should have been ours. Vincenzo looked disgusted. You little snake. Matteo's eyes flashed. Sofia was not the only bloodline. No, I said, but she was the competent one. That earned me. A gun pointed briefly in my direction. Marco stepped forward slightly. Matteo tightened his grip on Luca. Don't. I raised a hand. Everyone froze. I looked at Matteo. So you helped Black Harbor because you wanted the throne. I wanted justice. People who say justice while holding cousins hostage usually mean throne. His jaw tightened. Good. I was close. You leaked the keys through Luca, I continued. Used Salvator's legal access. Knew enough about Venice from old family records. Matteo smiled. You are smarter than they said. They. Cashin. Ah, your boyfriend. His face twisted. Definitely not boyfriend. Good to know. I continued. You helped Cashin attack Sofia, but he was never going to give you the empire. Yes, he was. Oh, poor idiot. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. No, Matteo. He was going to use you to break the Romanos, then throw you into the river. You're lying. I lie less than criminals. It is my one charm. Mikkel spoke quietly from the laptop. He is stalling. Matteo's eyes snapped toward him. Too late. Mikkel hit one key. The screens changed. A recording played. Cashin's voice filled the control room. Once Matteo opens the south route, remove him. The Romano bloodline becomes unnecessary after extraction. Matteo froze. Utterly froze. His grip on Luca loosened for half a second. Half a second was enough. Elena moved first. Her knife flew. Not toward Matteo's chest. Toward his gun hand. The blade struck. Matteo screamed. Marco lunged. Vincenzo grabbed Luca and yanked him away. Dante slammed Matteo into the wall hard enough to shake dust from the ceiling. The gun clattered to the floor. Marco kicked it away. Matteo slid down the wall, blood running from his hand. Elena walked over and pulled her knife free. Cold. Elegant. Terrifying. Next time, she said, I aim higher. Matteo gasped in pain. I looked at Mikkel. You had that recording ready. He adjusted his glasses. When Matteo used Salvator's access, I traced the remote authorization to a dormant family account. Matteo's name appeared. I began monitoring him. I stared at him. And you did not mention this. I was waiting to confirm. I closed my eyes. Mikkel. Yes. I respect your caution, but if you keep secrets like Sofia, I may develop health problems. Understood. Marco grabbed Matteo by the collar. Where is Sofia? Matteo laughed through the pain. Too much blood. Too much fear. But still laughing. Too late. Vincenzo stepped forward. Marco stopped him with one hand. I crouched in front of Matteo. He looked at me with burning hatred. You think she loved you? He spat. I said nothing. She used you. She uses everyone. Maybe. That made him pause. I leaned closer. But she chose me. His face twisted. There it was. The wound. Not ideology. Not justice. Jealousy. Sofia had chosen the outsider. Not the cousin. Not the bloodline. Not the men raised around the throne. Me. A man who wanted grilled fish and naps. Honestly, I understood why that annoyed people. Where is she? I asked. Matteo smiled with bloody teeth. You will never reach her. I sighed. Then stood. Marco. Yes. Break his fingers. Matteo's smile vanished. Luca flinched. Salvator whispered, Dear God. Marco took Matteo's injured hand. I turned away. Not because I was merciful. because I did not need to watch. Mateo lasted 8 seconds. 8. Then he screamed the location. Red Hook Old Customs Warehouse, Pier 12, she's at Pier 12. Marco released him. Mateo collapsed sobbing. Vincenzo looked satisfied. Elena cleaned her knife. Dante was already moving. Pier 12 is Black Harbor territory. Not anymore, I said. Everyone looked at me. I turned to Mikhail. Can you open the south route? Yes. Good. Marco frowned. Mr. Carter, it is likely a trap. Obviously. You still intend to go. Obviously. Vincenzo grinned. Finally. Elena smiled. Now this is interesting. Dante cracked his neck. I have people near the docks. Mikko closed the laptop. I can blind Black Harbor's exterior cameras for 6 minutes. Salvatore raised his hand weakly. I would like to stay behind. I looked at his fake blood-soaked shirt. You have died enough today. Permission granted. Luca stepped forward. I'm coming. Vincenzo immediately said, no. Luca's jaw trembled. She's my sister. You helped cause this. I know. His voice broke. I know, that's why I'm coming. For once, nobody mocked him. I studied Luca. Weak. Guilty. Scared. But maybe fear could grow teeth. Fine. Vincenzo looked ready to argue. I cut him off. He stays near me. Luca nodded quickly. Thank you. Do not thank me. If you slow us down, I will let Vincenzo carry you like luggage. Vincenzo smiled. Luca paled. Good motivation. We moved through the South Service route 5 minutes later. Black Harbor was still fighting through the tower, unaware their inside man had failed. Or maybe Cashin knew. With people like him, I assumed the worst. The route led to an underground garage, adjacent to a private tunnel. Sofia really had escaped tunnels everywhere. If she had one under my Greek villa, I would not be surprised. A convoy waited. Black SUVs. No headlights. Engines low. Men loaded weapons silently. I stood beside the lead car, staring toward the dark city. Red Hook. Pier 12. Sofia was waiting. Or dying. No. Not dying. I refused. The old phone rang again. Everyone froze. I answered. No voice at first. Only breathing. Then Cashin. Mr. Carter. I smiled. Cashin. You found Mateo. Yes. A shame. For you. For him. There was a pause. Then Cashin chuckled. You are learning. I hate it. I imagine. I stepped into the SUV. Marco sat beside me. Vincenzo climbed in front. Luca squeezed into the back like a frightened ghost. Cashin continued, I assume he gave you Red Hook. He did. Then come. Very welcoming. I believe it is time you and Miss Romano had a proper reunion. My grip tightened. Sofia alive. For now. His voice became soft. But hurry, she is becoming difficult. A muffled sound came through the line. Then Sofia's voice. Faint. Furious. Adrian, if you die for me, I'll kill you myself. I closed my eyes. That woman. That absolutely impossible woman. I opened them. Tell her to save her strength. Cashin laughed. And what will you do? I looked out the windshield as the convoy rolled into the rain. The city lights stretched ahead like a battlefield. What I should have done 3 years ago. And that is, I smiled. Cold. Certain. I'm bringing her home. Then I hung up. For once, I did not feel like running. For once, I did not feel like hiding. For once, the cage, the throne, the empire, the bullets, the blood, all of it became simple. Sofia Romano was alive. Sofia Romano was mine to save. And if Black Harbor wanted to stand between us, then tonight the harbor would turn red. The convoy moved through the rain like a line of black sharks. No headlights. No sirens. No mercy. I sat in the backseat of the lead SUV, staring out at the wet city sliding past the window. My reflection stared back at me. Pale face. Cold eyes. Sofia's black coat on my shoulders. Her silver lighter in my pocket. If someone had told me 1 week ago that I would be leading a Mafia rescue operation through New York at midnight, I would have laughed until I pulled a muscle. Now I was calculating how many exits an old customs warehouse probably had. Life really loved jokes, especially bad ones. Marco sat beside me, checking his pistol. Vincenzo was in the front passenger seat, speaking softly into his comms. Luca sat behind us, silent as a ghost. His hands were clenched together so tightly his knuckles had turned white. I glanced at him. You can still stay behind. He shook his head. No. You look like you might throw up. I might. Try not to do it in the car. This leather looks expensive. Nobody laughed. Tough crowd. Vincenzo looked back at Luca. When we arrive, you stay behind me. Luca swallowed. You hate me. Yes. The answer was too fast. Luca flinched. Vincenzo continued, voice rougher. But Sofia loves you, so you stay behind me. Luca lowered his head. For a second, he looked very young. Not a spoiled Romano heir. Not a fool who had handed dead codes to wolves. Just a scared, younger brother trying to fix something he had helped break. I looked away. Family was annoying. It made people stupid. Dangerous. Loyal. Sometimes all three at once. Marco's phone buzzed. He listened. Then said Mikkel has control of outer cameras. 6 minutes. Only 6, I asked. Black Harbor system is layered. Of course it is. Dante's voice came through the comms. My dock crews are in position east and west. They won't move unless you give the word. Elena followed. My people are blocking the casino roads. If Cashin tries to pull reinforcements through the city, they'll get stuck in traffic. I blinked. Traffic. Her voice was sweet. Luxury buses break down so easily. I smiled despite myself. Elegant woman. Terrifying hobbies. The convoy turned into the industrial district. Warehouses rose around us. Dark. Silent. Wet metal. Broken signs. Old tracks. The smell of salt and oil filled the air. Red Hook looked like the kind of place where the city hid its sins. Pier 12 appeared ahead. An old customs warehouse sat near the water. 3 stories. Brick walls. Steel doors. Cranes stood around it like sleeping monsters. A cargo ship was docked behind it, lights dimmed. Too quiet. Far too quiet. Marco lowered his window slightly. Rain blew in. He listened. Then said, no visible patrols. Vincenzo grunted. That means traps. Obviously, I said. He looked back at me. You keep saying that. Because people keep stating the obvious. The SUV stopped 2 blocks away. Everyone got out. Rain immediately soaked my hair. Wonderful. I missed grease. I missed my grill. I missed being irresponsible. Marco handed me a small earpiece. Stay behind me. No. His eyes narrowed. Mr. Carter. If I stay behind everyone, Cashin knows I am afraid. You are afraid. Yes, but he does not need encouragement. Vincenzo laughed quietly. Boss has a point. Marco looked like he wanted to age 10 years. Good. At least I was not suffering alone. We moved on foot. Marco, Vincenzo, and 6 men formed the front. I walked behind them. Luca stayed close enough that I could hear his uneven breathing. Dante's dock crews moved somewhere in the darkness. Elena's people were far behind, locking down streets. Mikhail whispered directions through the earpiece. 2 heat signatures at the north entrance, 4 near the loading bay, unknown inside due to interference. Interference, I whispered. Signal jammers. Naturally. Because the night had been too easy. We reached the side of the warehouse. Marco raised a fist. Everyone stopped. A guard stood near a side door, smoking under a metal awning. He did not even hear Vincenzo approach. 1 second he was standing. The next he was folded quietly onto the ground. Non-lethal. Probably. I decided not to ask. Marco examined the door. Locked. I looked at him. You can open it. Yes. Then why announce it? He gave me a flat look and opened it in 3 seconds. Show off. Inside, the warehouse smelled like seawater, rust, and old wood. Stacks of crates created narrow aisles. Dim lights flickered overhead. Everything looked abandoned. Which meant nothing was abandoned. We moved slowly. Every step echoed too loudly. My heart beat in my ears. Then Sofia's voice suddenly came through hidden speakers. Adrian. Everyone froze. My blood turned cold. The voice echoed through the warehouse. Calm. Tired. Still proud. Do not take another step. Marco whispered, recording. I knew. The voice continued. If you hear this, Cashin expected you to come, which means you came because you are stubborn when pretending not to care. I closed my eyes. Even kidnapped, she was insulting me accurately. Typical. Her recorded voice softened. I left you the Empire because I needed someone the traitor could not predict, someone outside the family, someone everyone would underestimate. A pause. Then quieter. And because if I died, everything I had should belong to the person I trusted most. The warehouse seemed to disappear. The rain. The guns. The danger. All of it faded beneath those words. Trusted most. I had spent 3 years thinking Sofia saw me as property. A thing to keep. A man to chase. But maybe she had trusted me more than I ever understood. Maybe that was worse. The recording crackled. Do not trust Cashin's offer. Do not trust the obvious traitor. And Adrian, her voice dropped. Do not trade yourself for me. The speakers went silent. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Cashin's voice replaced hers. Smooth. Amused. Touching, isn't it? Lights exploded on above us. White. Blinding. Men appeared on the upper walkways. Weapons raised. From behind crates. From staircases. From every shadow. We were surrounded. Luca made a small sound. Vincenzo cursed. Marco lifted his gun but did not fire. I slowly looked up. Cassian Vale stood on the second-floor balcony. Gray suit. Silver cane. Perfect smile. Beside him stood Sofia. Hands bound in front. Two men gripping her arms. There was a bruise on her cheek. Blood at her lip. But her eyes burned. When she saw me, her expression changed. Only for a second. Relief. Fear. Anger. Love. No. Not the time. Definitely not the time. Adrian, she said coldly, I told you not to come. I looked at her. You also told me not to die for you. Yes. I am only ignoring half your instructions. Her lips trembled slightly. Almost a smile. Cassian clapped slowly. How charming. I looked at him. Cassian. Mr. Carter. You look comfortable for a man standing in a warehouse full of people who hate him. He smiled. I am surrounded by my people. I glanced around. Are you? His smile thinned. Good. He did not like that. I raised my voice. Anyone here actually getting paid tonight? Or did Cassian promise you future shares after he throws Mateo into the river? A few men shifted. Small movement. But movement. Cassian's eyes cooled. You have a mouth. I have been told. And no sense of self-preservation. I lost that around the second phone call. Sofia looked at me like she wanted to strangle me. Comforting. Cassian tapped his cane once. Enough, you know what I want. The ports, the casinos, the accounts. And the Romano name. I laughed. That made him pause. You think the name can be handed over? It can be destroyed. Maybe. I looked at Sofia. Then back at him. But it cannot be worn by a parasite. The warehouse went still. Cassian's smile vanished. There it was. The real face beneath the silk. Cold. Ugly. Hungry. You are alive only because I need signatures. I nodded. So that is why Sofia is alive too. His jaw tightened. Good. We were finally reaching the truth. You need her authorization and mine, I said. The will transferred emergency control to me, but some assets still require Sofia's biometric approval. Sofia's eyes flicked slightly. Confirmation. Mikkel had mentioned layered accounts. Sofia had built a dead switch. Of course she had. I looked at Cassian. You cannot take the Empire unless we both sign. Cassian smiled again. Correct. And if we refuse? He lifted his cane. One of his men pressed a gun against Sofia's head. My heart stopped. But Sofia did not flinch. Not even a little. Cassian said softly, then I start removing things you love. The warehouse became silent. Vincenzo's breath turned heavy. Marco's face went stone cold. Luca whispered, Sofia. I looked at her. She looked back. Her eyes told me one thing. Don't. Do not bend. Do not trade. Do not kneel. But that was easy for her. Sofia Romano had been raised on steel. I was raised on wanting a quiet life. Unfortunately, quiet lives were hard to keep when the woman you loved was a criminal queen with enemies in every shadow. I sighed. Fine. Sofia's eyes widened. Adrian. Cassian smiled. Wise. I'll sign. No, you won't, Sofia snapped. I ignored her. But I have one condition. Cashin tilted his head. You are not in a position for conditions. I am always in position for annoying behavior. His eyes narrowed. What condition? I pointed at Sofia. She comes down here. No. Then no signature. He studied me. I could hurt her where she stands. Yes. My voice stayed calm. But you need her hands usable, her eyes usable, her voice usable, and if you damage her too much, your biometric transfer fails. For the first time, Cashin looked truly irritated. Mikkel had explained it in the car. Romano deep assets required layered approval. Fingerprint, retinal scan, voice code, pulse confirmation. A dead person could not authorize most of it. A broken person might fail. Sofia was not just hostage. She was a key. Cashin waved his cane. Bring her. The two men dragged Sofia toward the stairs. She walked stiffly but on her own. Proud even now. When she reached the warehouse floor, our eyes met properly for the first time in 3 years. 3 years. I had imagined this moment many times. Sometimes she slapped me. Sometimes I yelled. Sometimes we both pretended not to care. I never imagined it would happen surrounded by armed men while negotiating the theft of a criminal empire. But honestly, with Sofia I should have. She stopped 5 steps away. Her voice was low. You idiot. I smiled. You look terrible. You look worse. I have had a long week. Her eyes reddened slightly. Just slightly. Then the walls went back up. Cashin gestured. A metal table was brought forward. Documents, tablet, scanner, everything prepared. He really thought this would work. That offended me. Not because he underestimated me. Everyone did that. But because he underestimated Sofia. And that was unforgivable. Cashin placed the tablet on the table. Sign first. I picked up the stylus. Sofia's eyes burned into me. Adrian. I looked at her. Trust me. I did not say it. Maybe because I had no right. Maybe because trust was something I had broken when I ran. So instead I smiled lazily. The same smile I used when pretending life was easy. Relax, I know what I'm doing. Sofia whispered, that is what worries me. Fair. Very fair. I signed. Cashin's smile returned. Then he turned the tablet to Sofia. Your turn. Sofia stared at the screen. Then at me. Then at Cashin. No. Cashin's eyes darkened. Miss Romano. No. He moved fast. Too fast for a man with a cane. He grabbed her chin and forced her to look at him. You will sign. I took 1 step forward. Every weapon in the warehouse locked onto me. Marco caught my arm. Sofia did not look afraid. She smiled. A bloody little smile. You still don't understand, Cashin. His grip tightened. What? She looked past him. At me. Then she said softly, my empire was never the trap. Cashin froze. I smiled. Mine was. The tablet beeped. Once. Then every light in the warehouse turned red. Mikkel's voice burst through my earpiece. Transfer signature received, Trojan active. Cashin's face changed. What did you do? The upper walkways erupted in chaos. Not gunfire at first. Sprinklers burst open. But it was not water. Thick white smoke poured down from hidden vents. Dante's dock crews smashed through the east loading doors. Elena's people cut the western exits. Vincenzo roared like a beast and charged forward. Marco pulled me down just as the first shots cracked overhead. Everything turned into noise. Smoke, shouting, rain, boots, metal. I grabbed Sofia's wrist and pulled her toward me. She stumbled into my arms. For half a second, the whole world stopped. She was real, warm, alive. Then she snapped, "Untie me." Right. Romance later. Survival first. I fumbled with the bindings. Hold still. I am holding still. You are judging me. Because you are slow. I am rescuing you. Poorly. I can put you back. Her eyes flashed. You dare. The zip tie finally snapped. She pulled her hands free, took the small pistol Marco tossed her without even looking, and shot the weapon out of a Black Harbor man's grip. Clean. Precise. Terrifying. My heart skipped. She glanced at me. What? Nothing. You missed me. I missed peace. Liar. Then she turned and shot another attacker in the leg. Non-lethal. Mostly. I really needed to update my definition of normal. Cashin was backing toward the northern exit, surrounded by his remaining men. He was still holding the cane. Still smiling. But now the smile was cracked. Dante's people pushed from the east. Elena's from the west. Vincenzo's men stormed the center. Mikkel had blinded cameras, opened doors, triggered Sofia's security network, and apparently locked Black Harbor's escape vehicles in the lot. The lazy plan had worked. Mostly. The tablet had not transferred assets. It had transferred a virus. Mikkel built it. Sofia predicted Cashin would force signatures. I provided the bait. Teamwork. Disgusting but effective. Cashin reached the north exit. Then stopped. Luca stood there. Alone. Shaking. Holding a gun with both hands. Cashin looked amused. Move, boy. Luca did not move. His face was pale. His arms trembled. But he stood in front of the door. No. Cashin sighed. You Romanos are all so dramatic. He lifted his cane. A hidden blade slid from its base. Of course. Of course the cane had a blade. Why would anything be simple? Cashin lunged. Luca froze. Vincenzo shouted. But Sofia moved faster. She fired. The shot struck Cashin's cane, knocking it from his hand. Marco tackled him from the side. They hit the floor hard. Cashin fought like a man who had survived many ugly rooms. But Marco fought like a man who had been waiting 14 years to hurt someone properly. It ended quickly. Cashin was pinned face first against the concrete, Marco's knee on his back. Vincenzo arrived and pressed a gun against Cashin's head. Give me one reason. Cashin laughed through blood. Because if I die, you never learn who hired me. The warehouse went quiet. Not completely. Men were still being restrained. Smoke still rolled across the floor. Rain still poured through the broken loading doors. But near Cashin, everyone froze. I walked over slowly. Sofia came beside me. Too close. Not close enough. I looked down at Cashin. Who hired you? He smiled. You still think this began with Matteo? No. Sofia's voice was cold enough to freeze the harbor. You were funded through old Romano channels. Cashin looked at her. Aren't you clever? She stepped closer. Who? Cashin's eyes moved between us. Then he started laughing. Softly. Then harder. Vincenzo growled. Cashin looked directly at Sofia. The dead do love returning, don't they? Sofia went still. Very still. I noticed. Marco noticed. Vincenzo noticed. Everyone noticed. I looked at her. Sofia. Her face had lost color. For the first time all night, she looked truly shaken. I did not like it. Not one bit. Cashin smiled at me. You inherited an empire from a woman who faked her death. He then looked at Sofia. But she learned from the best. Sofia whispered one word. No. Cashin's smile widened. Oh yes. The warehouse lights flickered. Mikkel's voice came through the comms, tense. Adrian, we have a new problem. I touched my earpiece. What? Someone just accessed Romano Tower's old master vault. Sofia turned sharply. That's impossible. Mikkel continued. The access code belongs to, he paused. Nobody breathed. Then he said the name. Antonio Romano. The warehouse went silent. Luca's mouth opened. Vincenzo crossed himself. Marco's face hardened. I looked at Sofia. Her eyes were wide. Empty. Lost. Sofia, I said slowly, who is Antonio Romano? She did not answer at first. Then her voice came out nearly soundless. My father. I stared at her. But your father is dead. Cashin laughed beneath Marco's knee. Sofia closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something inside her had changed. The queen was back. But beneath the ice there was fear. Old fear. Childhood fear. The kind that never really dies. She looked toward the burning city. So was I. Behind us, the harbor sirens began to scream. And just like that, the war for Sofia's empire became something much worse. Because Black Harbor had only been the knife. Matteo had only been the fool. Cashin had only been the messenger. The real ghost had finally opened his eyes. Antonio Romano. Sofia's dead father. The man who built the empire. The man who once ordered my death. The man who should have been buried 6 years ago. Was alive. And he had just come home. Antonio Romano was alive. That sentence should have been impossible. But then again, in the last several days, impossible had become my regular schedule. Sofia had faked her death. I had inherited a criminal empire. Cashin Vale had kidnapped her. A cousin nobody remembered had betrayed the family. And now Sofia's dead father had opened the master vault at Romano Tower. Honestly, at this point, if someone told me my Greek villa was secretly a submarine, I would only ask if the kitchen still worked. The warehouse was silent except for the rain. Cashin was still pinned beneath Marco's knee. Vincenzo looked like he had seen a demon. Luca stood by the exit, shaking so badly the gun in his hand rattled. Sofia stared toward the city, face pale, eyes colder than the harbor wind. I looked at her. Sofia. She did not answer. Sofia. This time she blinked. Slowly. As if dragging herself back from a nightmare. My father is dead, she said. No one spoke. Her voice became quieter. I buried him. Cashin laughed from the floor. Did you? Marco pressed his knee harder into Cashin's back. Cashin grunted but kept smiling. Sofia turned. The look in her eyes made even Vincenzo step back. Speak. Cashin smiled with bloody teeth. Antonio Romano does not die because his daughter wants him dead. Sofia moved so fast I barely saw it. 1 second she was beside me. The next she was crouched in front of Cashin, her pistol pressed beneath his chin. "Sofia," I said. She ignored me. "Where is he?" Cashin's smile widened. "At home." Her fingers tightened. "Romano Tower." Of course. The Ghost King had returned to his castle. Mikkel's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Adrian, you need to come back now." "What is happening?" "The vault is open. Old accounts are activating. Private soldiers are being paid from dormant reserves." My stomach sank. "How many?" "Enough." "Wonderful." "Absolutely wonderful." I looked at Sofia. She was still staring at Cashin. Then Mikkel continued. "And Adrian." "What?" "The emergency succession document has been challenged." Sofia's eyes sharpened. "My will." "No," Mikkel said, older. Her face changed. "I did not like that." "Not one bit." Mikkel's voice lowered. "Antonio Romano filed a bloodline restoration order 6 years ago. If he proves he is alive, all emergency authority returns to him." Vincenzo cursed. Luca whispered no. Sofia stood slowly. Her face had gone completely calm. Too calm. That was the dangerous version of calm. The version before buildings burned. "My father wants his throne back," she said. I rubbed my forehead. "Can nobody in this family just retire?" No one laughed. Again. Tough crowd. Cashin smiled up at us. He never wanted retirement. He wanted to see if his daughter was worthy. Sofia's jaw tightened. "And?" Cashin's gaze moved to me. "Then you came along." There it was. I was the problem again. Classic. I looked at Sofia. "Your father ordered Marco to kill me in Venice." She closed her eyes. "Yes. So this is about me." "No." Her voice was cold. "This is about control." She turned toward Romano Tower, glowing in the distance through rain and smoke. "My father never loved people, he owned them." Her hand trembled once. Only once. I noticed. Because I knew her. Even after 3 years. Even after lies, traps, fake deaths, and one very stressful inheritance. I knew her. Sofia Romano was not afraid of bullets. She was not afraid of betrayal. She was not even afraid of dying. But her father, that fear lived deeper. Older. Buried beneath the queen. I stepped beside her. "Then we take the tower back." She looked at me. "No." I sighed. "I was hoping you would say something romantic." "You are leaving." I stared at her. "What?" "You are leaving now." "No." "Adrian." "No." Her eyes flashed. "This is not your war." I laughed. Softly. Tiredly. That made her pause. "Sofia, you left me your empire." That was strategy. "You called me when you were hunted." That was necessity. "You trusted me." Her lips pressed together. I stepped closer. "And I ran from you for 3 years because I thought loving you meant losing freedom." Her face went still. I lowered my voice. "But apparently freedom without you was just a very quiet prison." Her eyes reddened. Just slightly. "Adrian," I smiled. "Do not look at me like that. I'm still angry." A tear almost fell. "Almost." Sofia Romano refused to cry in front of enemies. So I turned toward Cashin. Throw him in the trunk. Cashin's smile faded. Vincenzo grinned. With pleasure. The drive back to Romano Tower felt like heading into the mouth of a beast. Only this time, the beast knew we were coming. Mikkel fed updates through the comms. Antonio's people control floors 50 through 80. Server sections. Compromised. Armory. Split. Security. Half loyal to Sofia, half waiting to see who wins. I leaned back in the SUV. Cowards. Sofia sitting beside me said coldly, realists. That sounds like coward with better shoes. She glanced at me. Despite everything, her mouth twitched. A tiny smile. Victory. Small but mine. Marco drove. Vincenzo rode in the second SUV with Cashin tied and gagged. Alina and Dante coordinated street teams. Mikkel was already inside the tower's hidden system, fighting a digital war with Antonio's people. Luca sat across from us, pale but determined. Sofia looked at him. You should have stayed behind. Luca swallowed. I know. Then why are you here? He lowered his head. Because I ruined everything. Sofia's eyes softened for half a second. Then hardened again. Yes. Luca flinched. But she continued, you are still my brother. His eyes reddened. I'm sorry. Sofia looked out the window. You can apologize after we survive. That means you think we will. No, she said. It means I dislike unfinished conversations. I stared at her. This woman. Even her comfort sounded like a threat. The convoy entered Romano Tower through the lower service tunnel. The hidden route opened beneath the building into a private garage. Half the lights were out. Emergency alarms flashed red. The air smelled like smoke and electricity. Armed men waited near the entrance. For a second, nobody moved. Then one of them stepped forward and knelt. Miss Romano. Another followed. Then another. Soon, every loyal guard in the garage lowered their weapons and bowed their heads. Sofia walked past them without slowing. Queen. Alive. Angry. Beautiful. I followed, wondering again how my life had ended up here. Then one guard looked at me and said, Boss. I almost tripped. Sofia heard it. Of course she did. Her lips curved faintly. I whispered, do not enjoy this. I am not. You are. A little. We reached the private elevator. Mikkel's voice came through. I can get you to floor 76, no higher. Antonio locked the penthouse levels. Sofia pressed her palm to the scanner. The elevator opened. Inside, for the first time since the warehouse, we were alone. Me. Sofia. Marco. Luca. The doors closed. The elevator rose. Numbers climbed silently. 40. 50. 60. No one spoke. Finally, Sofia said, If my father offers you a deal, refuse. I looked at her. What kind of deal? The kind that sounds reasonable. Those are the worst. He will tell you I am unstable. You are. She glared. Emotionally possessive. Also true. Dangerous. Definitely. Her face darkened. I smiled. But he will say it like those are reasons not to choose you. Her eyes trembled. I looked forward. They are not. The elevator stopped. 76th floor. Doors opened. Gunfire immediately erupted. Marco pushed Luca down. I ducked behind the wall. Sofia moved like lightning, firing twice. 2 guns clattered to the floor. Dante's men surged from a side corridor. Vincenzo's soldiers came behind us. The hallway became chaos, but controlled chaos. Our chaos. We moved floor by floor. 76. 77. 78. Each level was a fight. Not a massacre. Not mindless violence. A cold, precise struggle for control. Sofia gave orders like she had never been tied to a chair an hour ago. Elena cut off reinforcements. Dante secured stairwells. Mikkel opened and locked doors remotely. Vincenzo broke through barricades with the joy of a man discovering his true purpose. Luca stayed close, terrified but useful. Once, a hidden shooter aimed at Sofia from a side office. Luca saw him first. He shoved her aside. The shot hit the wall. Marco took the shooter down. Sofia stared at Luca. Luca stared back, shaking. I owed you one, he whispered. Sofia said nothing. Then she touched his cheek once. Just once. Luca nearly cried. I pretended not to notice. Finally, we reached the 80th floor. The old family hall. Portraits lined the walls. Romano ancestors watched from gilded frames, all looking equally miserable. At the far end stood massive double doors. Sofia's father's old office. The room where the empire had once been ruled. The room Sofia had sealed after his funeral. Now light glowed beneath the door. Sofia stopped. Her breathing changed. I stepped beside her. You ready? No. Honest. Painfully honest. Then she lifted her chin. But I am going in. The doors opened before she touched them. A man sat behind the old black desk. Silver hair. Sharp suit. Heavy eyes. Antonio Romano. Alive. Older than his portrait. Thinner, but unmistakable. He looked at Sofia first. Then Luca. Then Marco. Finally me. His gaze stopped there. So, he said, voice deep and calm, this is the man who ruined my daughter. I smiled. Nice to meet you too. Sofia stepped forward. You should be dead. Antonio leaned back. So should you. Father and daughter stared at each other. The air between them was colder than winter. I wondered how long it would take you to find me, Antonio said. Sofia's voice was flat. You let Black Harbor touch me. I let Black Harbor test you. They put a gun to my head. And yet you are standing here. Luca stepped forward. You used us. Antonio looked at him like he was furniture. You were always easy to use. Luca went pale. Sofia's hand tightened. I stepped forward before she could shoot her father. Probably wise. Probably. What do you want? Antonio's eyes moved to me. The empire restored. To you. To blood. I looked at Sofia. She is blood. She became weak. The room went silent. Antonio continued. She loved an outsider. She hesitated. She protected fools. She faked death instead of crushing enemies openly. Sofia smiled coldly. I survived. You hid. I learned from you. His eyes narrowed. Good. That hit. Antonio stood slowly. You think this is power? He gestured around the room. Secret tunnels, fake wills, childish traps. I raised my hand. To be fair, the traps were very effective. Sofia shot me a look. I lowered my hand. Antonio ignored me. The Romano name was built on fear, absolute fear. Under me no one questioned, no one betrayed. Marco's voice was quiet. Many betrayed. You just killed them before they could speak. Antonio looked at him. You were my dog once. Marco's face did not change. And then Sofia taught me loyalty. Antonio laughed. Loyalty, she replaced me with a runaway boyfriend. I sighed. Here we go again. Can everyone stop calling me that? No one stopped. Antonio opened a drawer and placed a folder on the desk. Adrian Carter, born Adrian Hale, wealth hidden in offshore structures, private companies, quiet investments, a man with no appetite for rule. I glanced at Sofia. You told him. She shook her head. Antonio smiled. I knew about him long before you did. My blood chilled. What? Antonio looked at Sofia. Your little lover was never ordinary. Sofia's face sharpened. I knew. No, Antonio said. You knew he was rich. You knew he was capable, but you did not know why I wanted him dead. The room went still. I suddenly had a very bad feeling. Antonio looked at me. Your father helped build Black Harbor. My thoughts stopped. For 1 second the world narrowed. My father was a banker. Yes, a banker who laundered money for monsters, then tried to run with their records. I stared at him. That is a lie. Is it? He threw another folder onto the floor. Photographs spilled out. Old. Grainy. My father. Younger. Standing beside men I did not recognize. Then one photo. My father beside Antonio Romano. And Cashin Vale. My throat went dry. Sofia picked up one photo. Her expression changed. Antonio smiled. The night you saved my daughter in that warehouse, Adrian, you were not a random hero. You were the missing key to records your father stole. I could not breathe properly. My father died in an accident. Antonio's smile became cruel. Did he? Sofia's voice cracked like a whip. Enough. Antonio looked at her. You see, weakness. He does not even know what world he belongs to. I looked at the photos. My hands felt numb. Everything I knew shifted. My father. My quiet, tired father. The man who taught me to cook. Who told me to avoid powerful people. Who said happiness was a locked door and a full kitchen. Had he been running too? Like me. Was my whole peaceful life built from someone else's escape? Sofia touched my wrist. Quietly, gently. I looked at her. Her eyes said one thing. Stay with me. So I did. I breathed. Once. Twice. Then I looked at Antonio. So this was never about Sofia. Antonio smiled. It was always about legacy. No. My voice came out cold. It was about fear. His smile faded. I stepped forward. You feared Sofia because she could rule without becoming you. The room went silent. You feared me because my father stole something from men like you. Antonio's eyes darkened. And you feared us together because we were the one thing you could not control. Sofia's fingers tightened around mine. Antonio stared at our joined hands. Disgust flickered across his face. There it is, he said, weakness. No, Sofia said. Her voice was soft. Dangerous. That is where you were wrong. She stepped forward. I thought loving him made me afraid, so I locked him up, chased him, tried to own him. Her eyes reddened, but she did not look away. But love was never the cage. She lifted her gun. You were. Antonio smiled sadly. You will not shoot me. Sofia's hand trembled. He was right. Not because she lacked courage. Because he was still her father. Monster or not. Dead or not. A child always remembered the hand that once held hers. Even if that same hand became a chain. So I moved. Not with a gun. Not with a threat. With the folder. I picked up the records and looked at Antonio. You said my father stole something. His eyes narrowed. Yes. What? He did not answer. I smiled. Financial ledgers, names, offshore keys, evidence. For the first time, Antonio's face changed. Very slightly. But enough. Mikkel's voice suddenly came through my earpiece. Adrian, keep him talking. Good. Very good. I looked at Antonio. You did not come back only for the empire. You came back because you thought Sofia found what my father hid. Antonio said nothing. I laughed softly. She did, didn't she? Sofia looked at me. I squeezed her hand. Not now. Trust me. Antonio's calm was cracking. You know nothing. No, but I know Sofia. I turned toward her. And Sofia would never leave me an empire without leaving me the real weapon. Her eyes flickered. The lighter. My hand went to my pocket. Sofia's silver lighter. The fake chip had been inside the base. But that was too easy. Too obvious. Do not trust the first evidence. I flicked it open. Flame. Small. Bright. I turned it upside down. There, beneath the striker wheel, almost invisible, was a tiny engraved number. Not a chip. A vault coordinate. I smiled. Sofia. She stared. Then understood. Her breath caught. Adrian, Antonio's face went white. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Mikkel's voice came through. I have it. The number unlocked a hidden partition in the master vault. Antonio slammed his palm on the desk. No. Mikkel continued, voice sharp with excitement. Ledger files, names, payments, recordings, Antonio, Black Harbor, judges, banks, foreign accounts. Everything. Antonio pulled a gun from beneath the desk. Marco moved instantly. So did Sofia. But Luca moved first. He stepped between Antonio and Sofia. The shot fired. Not into Sofia. Into Luca's shoulder. He fell. Sofia screamed. Marco fired once. Antonio's gun flew from his hand. Vincenzo charged and slammed Antonio against the desk. The old man hit the floor hard. Not dead. Alive. Very alive. And finally powerless. Sofia dropped beside Luca. Luca. He groaned. I'm fine. You idiot. He coughed weakly. Runs in the family. She pressed her hand to his wound. Tears finally fell. Just one. Maybe two. Luca smiled through pain. Now we're even. Sofia laughed and cried at the same time. No. Her voice broke. You still owe me 8 million. Luca groaned. Even Marco almost smiled. Vincenzo kept Antonio pinned. The old king looked up at his daughter. His face twisted with hatred. You ruined my empire. Sofia rose slowly. Blood on her hands. tears on her face, crown in her eyes. No, father. She looked at me, then at Luca, then at Marco, Vincenzo, Elena, Dante, and everyone who had fought their way through fire for her. I inherited your empire. She stepped closer, and I turned it into my family. Antonio had no answer. For the first time, the Ghost King was silent. By dawn, Antonio Romano was in custody. Not police custody. Not yet. First came lawyers, then ledgers, then recordings, then carefully arranged leaks to agencies, judges, banks, and enemies, who suddenly discovered they had bigger problems than the Romano family. Cash and Vale traded testimony for survival. Matteo begged. Salvatore wrote documents until his hand cramped. Mikkel smiled more than I had ever seen, which was disturbing. Elena reclaimed her casinos. Dante reclaimed the ports. Vincenzo personally threw Antonio's old portrait into storage. Luca survived. He complained loudly. Sofia pretended to be annoyed, but stayed beside his hospital bed for 6 hours. As for me, I slept for 14 hours in Sofia's office. On the sofa, very uncomfortable. When I woke up, Sofia was sitting in the chair beside me, watching. Again. But this time, it did not feel like imprisonment. It felt like she was afraid I might vanish. Old fear. Old wound. I opened one eye. Creepy. Her lips curved. You snore. Lies. Loudly. More lies. She leaned back. The morning sun cut through the windows behind her. For once she looked tired. Not like a queen. Not like a crime boss. Just Sofia. My Sofia. Dangerous thought. Still true. I sat up slowly. So what happens now? She looked at the city. The empire changes. Into what? Something cleaner. I raised an eyebrow. She glanced at me. Do not look so surprised. I can evolve. Can you? I will try. That was the most honest thing she had said in days. Maybe years. I nodded. Good. Silence settled between us. Not the dangerous kind. The soft kind. The kind I had not known with her before. Finally she said, You can leave. I looked at her. The estate doors, the tower, the city, everything, you are free. Her voice trembled slightly. I will not chase you. There it was. The final trap. Not hers. Mine. For 3 years, I thought freedom meant distance. A beach. A fake name. No one knowing where I slept. No one caring whether I came home. But real freedom. Maybe it was choosing where to stay. Choosing who was worth the fear. Choosing the woman who had terrified me, protected me, hurt me, trusted me, and somehow handed me both a throne and her broken heart. I stood, walked to the window, looked down at the city. Then I looked back at her. Sofia. Her fingers tightened in her lap. Yes, I am going back to Greece. Her face went still. Pain flashed through her eyes before she could hide it. I continued. I left a very good grill there, also wine, clothes, some fish in the freezer that are definitely ruined by now. She said nothing. I smiled. So you should pack. Her eyes widened. What? I said pack. She stood slowly. You want me to come with you? No. Her face changed. I added, I want you to choose whether you come with me. For a long time she only stared. Then her eyes turned red. "You are cruel. I learned from the best." She laughed. Soft, broken, happy. Then she crossed the room and threw her arms around me. I held her tightly, not because she would disappear, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to. Her face buried against my chest. Her voice came muffled. "If I go with you, I am bringing security." "No." "2 guards." "No." "1. Sofia." "A very small guard." "No guards." She was silent, then whispered, "Fine, Marco can pretend to be a tourist." From the doorway, Marco said, "I already own floral shirts." I jumped. Sofia did not. Of course she knew he was there. I pointed at him. "No." Marco looked almost disappointed. Sofia smiled against my chest. And just like that, after fake deaths, mob wars, hidden fathers, betrayals, vaults, and one deeply uncomfortable inheritance, I lost. Completely. 3 months later, the island in Greece was peaceful again. Mostly. My villa had been repaired. My kitchen restocked. My wine cellar refilled. The grill worked. The sea was blue. The breeze was warm. And Sofia Romano, former feared queen of the underworld, was standing in my kitchen wearing an apron and threatening a tomato. "You are cutting it wrong," I said. She looked at me. "It is a tomato. It has structure. It is food. It deserves respect." She lifted the knife. I wisely stopped talking. Outside, Marco sat beneath an umbrella wearing sunglasses and a truly terrible floral shirt. He claimed he was on vacation. I claimed he was spying. We were both correct. Luca called twice a week from New York, usually asking for money and forgiveness. Sofia gave him advice. I gave him recipes. Vincenzo sent updates with too many curse words. Elena sent wine. Dante sent fresh seafood. Mikkel sent financial reports I never opened. The Romano Empire did not vanish. It changed. Slowly. Painfully. Not clean overnight. Stories like ours were not that simple. But Sofia kept trying. And I stayed. Not trapped. Not running. Just there. One evening, we sat on the terrace watching the sunset. Sofia leaned against me, glass of wine in hand. For once, her eyes were peaceful. I looked at her and asked, "If I had still run away, would you have chased me?" She took a sip of wine. "Of course." I sighed. "Sofia." She looked up at me innocently. "What?" I said. "I changed. I did not say I became stupid." I laughed. She smiled. Then her voice softened. "But this time, I would ask you to come back." I looked at her. "And if I said no?" Her fingers slid between mine. "Then I would wait." The sea wind moved through her hair. The last light of the sun brushed her face. For a moment, she did not look like a mafia queen, or a dangerous woman, or a ghost who had returned from death. She looked like home. I kissed her forehead. "Good thing I'm lazy." She smiled. "Why?" "Running is exhausting." She laughed. And I realized something ridiculous. Once I thought Sofia Romano was the cage. Then I thought the empire was the cage. Then I thought love itself was the cage. But I was wrong. The cage had always been fear. And now the door was open. The sea was wide. The woman beside me was dangerous, impossible, beautiful and mine only because she chose to be. I lifted my glass. To freedom. Sofia touched her glass to mine. To coming home. And for the first time in years, I did not look for exits. I simply stayed,